There is a certain sense of you guys have another kind of moment of respite here. We essentially dropped off right after the second of these minotaurs was laid low. You would have already noticed that the ice is like thinner on the western side of the screen. I think in particular, again, because of his perceptive ability, it's more Malchin than anybody who would have noticed it like during the kind of heightened moments of the actual battle. Um, I think you would have seen like the Minotaurs walk on it, so it's not simply that weight alone could like break the ice. It's not thin like that, but it is one of those things. I feel like sometimes you can see really new ice and it's still almost like crystal clear. And you can kind of tell that there's almost like a water flow below it versus like ice that like starts to stratify itself as it's getting rid of like the impurities, and it freezes like directionally. But there's some level of just kind of recognizing the ice on the western side. The ice on the western side of this room is thinner. It's meant to be darker because you can see the actual water that seems to be below it. Does anybody think I skipped over anything important? Do we have any questions? You do still have a rope tied to the skeletal minotaur's skull that descends down from the height above you.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. Um, and nothing major. Yeah.
So yeah, you guys have the two minotaurs that you've just slain in here. You are otherwise inside of this room. Any thoughts about what your first action is after you do battle with them? I think it was pretty dangerous for I think I only really hit one of you, but I was hitting you pretty hard. What are you all looking at health wise here? How's everybody feeling as you kind of have this moment of respite immediately after battling these two minotaurs?
Yeah, Malshan isn't even touched, so yeah, he's feeling perfectly fine.
Dalton is mortally wounded. I think he took one or two solid hits during that fight.
And I am bloodied right now.
Okay, so maybe I hit Dalton and Jinx, and yeah, I feel like those things hit like brick houses, where I might have only hit each of you one time, and done that because that was definitely one of the things I remember missing a lot with them. But I also remember that they were dealing either 2 or 4 D12 in damage, and I'm pretty sure I crit on Dalton. So 8 D12 probably could have easily killed anybody. Um, but yeah, they were definitely beasts.
Yeah, I remember them for the most part going after Jinx. It feels like, but he managed to kind of dodge them, and then kind of one good hit on Dalton, and that was because he's not that robust to begin with, so he's not like he's got a huge hit point pool.
So any thought, you guys are down here searching for basically from that journal powerful magical items. What are you guys doing as you have a chance to search over these bodies?
I think the first thing Malshan will do is offer some healing to both Dalton and Jinx.
And Dalton is going to he'll drop his concent now that the Minotaur's dead. Drop his concentration, obviously, on the heat metal. And
Gotcha. So that axe actually is just to the south of you on the ground. It's basically like 10 feet south of you. But yeah, you would basically see like that one as you like release it, like it stops like sizzling and like kind of melting into the ice.
Have they changed the dice again?
I hadn't even clicked on the roller to see. It looks like they went back to the old style. It looks like also now immediately you share the rolls instead of having them hidden at the start.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I have to click to hide. Yeah. See. Yeah, Mash is gonna heal uh, Dalton with a second level cure wounds.
Oh, it looks like ooh, it actually just shows your rolls. I like that. They definitely did redesign that.
Yeah, those things were particularly angry. I think I'll have one of those myself. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to heal myself here.
So I would point out as a thing that you guys can keep in mind, when you go to use your spell slots here, Malchin, you guys all know that Jinx has a staff that can potentially heal you guys without using um like other resources. So it's definitely one of those things like you guys as a 3-person party can certainly consider whether you want to use those staff charges before using actual spell slots.
Yeah,
Because the
so
staff can only heal. Once you use a spell slot, you don't have the choice anymore.
true. Sorry, I just got a little bit distracted because yeah, that's kind of cool how it just shows up the dice roll.
Malchin, so how much was that total for the healing?
Oh, a total of 8. Rolled really low.
Well, he got me out of mortally wounded, so, and actually technically out of bloodied, which tells you how few hit points I have.
Yeah, that's not great.
But Dalton will also suggest that we take a minute and just in case search these bodies. Maybe there's something we can use.
So Dalton, one more are you. Please give me either your choice of investigation if you're like ruffling through stuff, or perception if you're just kind of like looking over things.
Yeah, he'll go searching through the one of the body down here. No, the axe is down here. The bodies are up there. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Malshan, we can roll a second. Would go with perception, just going and like looking them over to see like what kind of equipment they had like visibly on them.
So that'll be an 18 total for Dalton.
That is 22 total for Malshan on perception.
My bad. I was readjusting the dice roller on my bot. I 18 from Dalton, but what did you roll? Investigation, and then it was 22 from Malchin for a perception.
Yeah, mine was investigation. Yeah.
Yeah, and Malshan was perception at 22.
Gotcha. So as far as things go, the Minotaurs themselves are not necessarily carrying anything beyond what you could kind of see like on themselves. They were largely just flesh and like normal creatures, flesh and bone. They each had those massive axes. So there are the great axes that you could take. Like many oversized weapons, they would deal more damage, but they're also unwieldy to weld at the medium size. Um, but the creatures themselves are not necessarily carrying much. The big thing to kind of notice here is that there is other stuff around this room that's kind of frozen into the ice. And among that is basically the noticing that there is a book in the southeastern corner that seems to be covered in a little bit of ice. But with some effort, you could either melt or cut away the ice to get at the book. In the long run, going to take you a little bit of time to do, maybe 5 or 10 minutes if somebody is just kind of working away at it with a like spell. Maybe like an hour if you're working away at it with tools. A lot of that would kind of be, are you feeling any sort of time crunch where you think using a resource other than time is necessary? And then probably because both of those are high, I would say in a very similar way, you can basically spot a little bit more of the underground river that kind of runs like to the west from this room. And basically recognize in a very similar way, you could like use spells to get through the ice, or with a little bit of time invested, you could essentially cut a hole in the ice and do a pretty similar thing, to make your way into this underground river that leads out of this room.
So I guess Dalton's thinking. Um, no, we have a specific time crunch. Definitely wants to get a look at that book. Probably want to be careful, try not to damage it while getting it out of the ice. But see if Malchin or Jinx has a thought about how quickly we need to keep moving.
I mean, I do want to get out of here, but I think we have the time to get the book out if we want it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm good at, but when it comes to heat or fire, there's not really much I could offer here. Might be able to insult the ice and get it to crack away and break, but not sure if it's sentient enough to understand my insults. So, and I don't even have a torch. I got a strike anywhere match though, but that's pretty much it. Oh, actually, you know what I do have? What were y'all thinking about digging that out with? I've got a crowbar.
I don't really have anything better than that. I was just thinking of using my short sword and try to chip away at it.
If we had an infinite amount of time, I could probably get it through it with a spell, but don't have anything too strong, so it would take some time. And perhaps we should just use the tools we have.
What spell is Dalton thinking of?
Um, so theoretically, I guess prestidigitation could, over time, like melt the ice, depending on how warm he can make it. The other option would be to essentially put something into the ice, like if we had a piton or a dagger maybe, and then use heat metal to heat that. But that would be, I'm not sure that's worth the use of that spell slot.
Do you have a climber's kit?
I do not.
Judging by the silence, I assume then that Jinx and Malchin also don't have climbers kits. So yeah, you guys are probably looking at like your daggers, and actually like chipping away at the ice is probably the best of options here. If you want to try um prestidigitation, that is perfectly fine, and you can certainly find out how it works. I'll give you a difficult dice roll to see, but it is supremely cold down here. So to see whether a cantrip can heat it up more than the cooling is already keeping it cold, will be part of why I say, like, using a spell slot can save you time. If you have something that actually creates a significant amount of heat, that might save you time. But cantrips, just like fighting it, just like digging at it with your normal weapons, is simply using that time element.
Yeah, I feel like prestidigitation would like momentarily warm it, and then the coldness of the room would just refreeze it, and you essentially get nowhere. Um,
Yeah, if I recall, prestidigitation's like you can warm like your cup of tea and make your cup of tea enjoyable. Or you could like warm your immediate area. So, when everybody else is freezing, you might have a sense of warmth. But in like this is pretty cold conditions here. It's not necessarily threatening your body with cold right now. But like if you were to sleep here, you guys would start to approach like um, this is like being inside of a walk-in refrigerator.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think probably just using kind of the mundane tools we have at hand, and
Yeah.
yeah. So
So again, it takes a little bit longer than not to dig your way like around this book. You do a pretty solid job of like chipping away at the sides of it, and eventually the crowbar can be useful for kind of like budging the last little bits of it away. But you don't necessarily want to use the crowbar too much because it does damage the book. So the crowbar is definitely one of those things, like it's just another tool as far as like the daggers and short sword are just as useful. In the long run, you guys might come to notice an axe would have been the best thing for it. A hammer would have been absolutely great. Um, Dalton definitely thinks a hammer and a python would have been an absolutely perfect combination of mundane tools to hack away at this book. Um, so I put this book in a whole different channel in Discord. So I didn't have to show it to you ahead of time in the other one that I put the journal into. But you guys should now be able to see um, the channel, The Book of Faceless Hate. So I'm going to say that while one or two of you starts to dig away at the western channel of this room, one of you can go over this book. I want everybody to consider the book because the book is kind of loaded with information. It is one of those things, though, where, like, in the long run, this book is a primer to all of the chaos cults, at least that are referenced in it. It is a primer to chaos cults that exist inside Atolis, far more than it's necessarily meant to be a this or a that here. So um, you can consider it for a few moments here. In the long run, though, this is just something for you guys to take a look at some point. Um, but after kind of digging it out, you guys might set the other person, maybe you had two people working on the book, one person working on the hole, or two people working on the river, and one person on the book. Whatever it is, everybody probably hacks away at it, assuming that you're not giving up on Nevrin Zalki and trying to leave this place entirely. But with about a 40 or so minutes going by to get the book out, as you're a little bit more delicate with it. Its pages are made of like vellum, which is like basically like calfskin turned to paper. It's a very resilient sort of paper, but the cold makes it brittle. So it's one of those things where that's again where I say like the use of the crowbar easily damages the book. So you do kind of have a little bit of hesitancy there. The other two people can start to work away at the hole towards the river and the flowing water beneath you. That probably takes, say, like an hour, hour and 20 minutes to kind of hack through. You guys are still early in your morning. Uh, can't hear like bells from Tolus above you to know what time anything is in particular, but you're still pretty early in your day when you basically break through that ice, and have the first kind of sense of these frigid waters that seem to lead to the west of this room that you are in. Do you all have any thoughts on how you would deal with an underground and near freezing body of water?
From our vantage point, can we see any? Is there any way to tell how quick or slow the current is of this underground river? Or
Um, I'm calling it an underground river because the water hasn't frozen. It doesn't in particular have a destination. So let's say once you break through it, you realize that it is not a river, and that it seems to be effectively stagnant.
gotcha. Okay.
So probably from the first bit of breaking through is that you guys can see that like the ice on this side was about probably like 2 feet thick before you got to the liquid water beneath it. And it's kind of in a relatively downward trajectory at say like 45 to 60 degrees downward, and leading towards the west. And again, that's probably just from Jinx's light spell and what you can see without necessarily like subjecting yourselves to the frigid waters.
Is there enough remaining ice that we could try to essentially like carve out a slab to use as like an makeshift raft?
Roll a. This is where I absolutely love the luck roll from Call of Cthulhu. Um, roll an intelligence for me.
That'll be a straight 8.
Gotcha. I'd say after you guys like cut out like an initial, like 3 or 4 foot hole, like human sized hole, with the idea that you might want to use the ice as like a flotation device. You can cut out like another chunk. It'll probably take you like 2 or so hours of effort to cut out like this other piece. Um, hoping that it'll float a body, maybe two, but you feel pretty likely it won't float three.
Gotcha.
And then
Yeah,
that's all to say, like, also, again, like, the water's going, like, downward, like, in that, like, like 45, 60 degree trajectory. So I'm not entirely sure what you're going for there. But, like, as a potential flotation device, that's what it would take, I feel like, to make it.
Gotcha. I was just kind of thinking, like, if we wanted to try to avoid having to, like, essentially step or wade through the water, if there was any way to um, do that. But I forgot about the slope essentially.
Yeah, so that's where again, like, there's walls to this, approximately like where Jinx is, approximately like 5 or so feet to the south of you. Like that's the walls of this underground cavern that leads like below you. The entryway is a little bit larger than it's basically like 10 or so feet wide and 10 or so feet tall. Um, like it's a 10 foot by 10 foot diameter. It's a 10 foot diameter tube that seems to be leading downward.
And is like a percentage of the tube is like full of water, and then like the other like whatever 75%.
Entirely filled.
Oh, okay, it's completely water.
Yeah, like when you guys crack away the ice, everything else is water there. There's not like an air tube, as you can see.
I know about you gentlemen, but I can hold my breath for a while. I imagine Malchin. I don't know if those gills are functional, but you should be fine as long as we don't freeze to death along the way. Shouldn't be an issue. But before we do jump in here, you guys had mentioned multiple occasions, Malchin. You seemed particularly excited about the magic weapons, but that book can't be magical that we wouldn't have to worry about damaging it. So before we leave here, are we missing something?
I suppose it's possible the cache of uh, magical items they uh, referenced are deeper within. Suppose it's possible these axes have something, but don't look like anything I'd be able to wield very effectively.
I think
Bit of
looking
a
over the X's, you would be able to notice that they are like rusted and tarnished with time and with being like in the ice. They haven't like oxidized horribly, but in so far as you guys have seen magical items before, just like the book, you would pretty well recognize those axes are far too normal. Um, and you've seen some chaos tech devices and seen often they are a combination of like flesh and um technology. They don't necessarily follow like magical item sort of things. But you've got a pretty solid sense here. Those axes are neither chaos tech nor magical.
gotcha. Yeah, so perhaps we've a bit more to go yet before we find them.
Also, would it be possible to do like an investigation check of like the cave walls and like look for any other like signs of stuff frozen in them before we leave?
Yeah, there's nothing else in this room for you guys to find.
Well, I suppose there's only two ways out of here, and one of them's sealed up. So in the water it is.
I might suggest we do the same thing we did back when we went out to the ship. Maybe try and keep some dry clothes to put back on once we get through.
Then I just have a question: how will we keep our clothes dry as we swim through? I don't really have anything water resistant.
Well, not sure how deep the water is, but I was thinking, I suppose we just try to keep our packs above our heads and hope it's not too deep.
That again is getting into you guys have like a swimming hole in front of you that you're gonna go underwater in to like see the cave that is descending like from Jinx's light.
Okay. Okay. Scratch that then. Yeah. So,
Could
Malchin, you can probably handle the cold a bit better than we can. Might be worth seeing just how deep this goes.
yeah. As for the book, not sure how much help it will provide, but we uh, could offer my shirt to wrap it up in, and at least like wrap it tight, so that water doesn't get directly on it, but will get soaked through. So I'm not sure how much it will help.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything that's particularly waterproof. So if it's anything valuable inside that book, let's read it now, just in case.
So is the plan at this point? Everybody's going to jump in at the same time, and you are going to swim for it to the west.
I think Malchon would jump in first, and Dalton wanted me to check out like how far it is.
Gotcha. So you're going to scout for them.
Yeah.
So assuming then that you are going to scout, what would you have Jinx light up for you so you can see as you descend into this?
Now, before we have you go off scouting on your own, Malchin, obviously you got the gills, and maybe you breathe, maybe you don't. We obviously do, but the real threat here feels more like the cold. So, is it the best idea to have one of us spending extra time in the water rather than just all going at once? I mean, I suppose if we're swimming for a few minutes and it doesn't look like we're going to find a way out of the ice, we could always turn back. But if the cold starts to hit us too hard, I hate for one of us to be alone under here, and I don't know. Right? Because I'm getting the right idea that this is like freezing freaking water.
It is indeed.
Yeah, you might be right. Probably don't want to be in the water more than I have to.
Maybe we just all stay together. Could even put a rope in between us, with a few feet, just in case something was to happen.
Do we have more rope? So I
Like,
used my 50 feet for the descending, and I don't think we took it with us.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you all have one length left from the Minotaur, like the undead Minotaur, that is hanging from the level above you, and it is giving you a way out of this room that you are in. I think Malchin is the other person with rope.
No, I don't think Malchon has rope on him. No, not currently. He didn't have his backpack with him, so I didn't have it.
So how many feet up is it to retrieve that rope if we was to go back and get it?
I think that was another 20-foot shaft. Yeah, so it's like a 30-foot climb.
Yeah, all right. I mean, it might be overkill and it's probably not necessary for safety, us being, regular heroes and everything, but I'll go get it.
Gotcha. So like a boost up, attach your gloves, see how effective they are.
So actually, can I climb up the rope and then climb down with the gloves? Would that be a possibility?
Oh yeah, just go for a normal climb. Yeah. Let me get a strength athletics from you. Yeah. solid, no problem climbing
Now
up
it is
to the
minus.
top.
It is minus. Hang on.
It's not a problem. I don't care how, unless you've got like a minus 95, not a problem. So you can climb up to the top, get up to like where the Minotaur skull is. You guys have like a figure 8 loop, so it's like around each of the horns, and make sure to pull like center through, like the like brain stem area of the skull, so it like pulls evenly and keeps that weight on. You can just pull that loop off, and you've got the hollow tube now below you. You can drop the rope to them ahead of time, but you've got the hollow tube ahead of you, and you can climb back down. I mean, otherwise, honestly, even without risking your gloves, yeah, I see it doesn't matter. But even without risking your gloves, you probably could have done a pretty similar thing of like untying the knot. And now that you know 100% how deep it is, you could have gone down with just the rope like hung through the Minotaur's skull and like not tied, so you could just pull the other end through from the other side. But yeah, you can make your way back down with the gloves, dropping off once you get to the other guys, and you guys have the rope now between you. So are we going to tie one person in the middle, two people on the ends of the rope?
I think that makes the most sense. Mountain, you could take light, and you've got dark vision, so we could have you go in the front. Dalton, you want the middle or the back?
I suppose I could take the middle.
Gotcha. So assuming we still have like an actual order that you're swimming, and you're not like shoulder to shoulder, um, who's going in the front and who's going to be in the back then?
Martian in the front then, and Jinx in the back, right?
Gotcha. Still going to light something up for Malchin? Do you want to light something up on Dalton? Do you want to cast light on the rope?
Ooh, that's actually a pretty good idea. If I cast light on the rope, does it like light up like the entire rope as one item?
As far as I'm concerned, it lights up an object. I would say it lights up the entire rope.
Yeah, I actually really like that idea. So yeah, I'll go with that.
Gotcha. So as you guys dive into the water here, I would like everyone to make a Constitution saving throw, please.
I'm gonna use my inspiration for this one. Stealing himself up for the water.
Yeah, I am gonna use the same, just for safety.
So it'll be a 17 for Dalton.
Excellent. I think Jinx was what, like a 16?
Jinx
Or wait, no,
15.
15. Gotcha. I see the 29 total for you, Dalton, but what was the individual?
Yeah, so 17 total. I got a 16 and a 13, and then I got a +1. So
Yeah, and Malchin got like 15 total.
All right, excellent. Everybody jumps in. You have an initial shock flow through your body as this cold hits. I want everybody to take 1 point of damage as you leap into this water, as the cold kind of hits you. I don't think anybody has cold resistance where you would take none from that, but effectively, even doing your best to staunch the like cold, there is still immediate and noticeable flesh damage effectively from this extreme cold. So you guys can leap in, and immediately you kind of like staunch yourselves. You calm like your breath as there's like that initial like leap in your heart rate. You calm your breath and very quickly gaining control of yourselves, as good adventurers are wont to do. You start to like dive down and swim forward. So as you all go here, you are basically going to see. We got Malchin, Dalton, and then Jinx. And I'm going to reveal on the vertical map first, before I show like on the one below it. But you basically dive down and very quickly see that there is essentially a horseshoe to this tunnel, where you're like swimming downward for maybe 20 or 30 feet. And then you start to see that the tunnel starts to move upward again. And by the time you make it about 60 or 80 feet forward, just about a minute of holding your breath forward, you guys are going to arrive at another side. You can see, with the light coming off of the rope, that there is like a free open space on the other side. It is frost covered, so you can see signs that it is just as cold, if not like colder kind of thing. You can see that there is a layer of ice preventing you from escaping. But you can also kind of tell it seems a little bit thinner at this point, but you need to start hacking through it. And you probably don't want to spend as much time as you did before. And this is where I need to correct saying that it took you like an hour or so, because it can't possibly take you an hour here. You guys will die. So I feel like I probably should have made you guys actually roll, because it makes sense that the initial rolls will actually give you a sense of how much effort to put into this one. And I just didn't think about it like that way. So the other side had like 20 hit points of damage, I think, to get through. If you've got to do, 15 or 20 points of damage to get through this side, what are you going to do to get to air? Are you guys going to hold off and use mundane weapons? Is somebody going to burn a spell? Do you have a spell that might melt this? Are you going to do something? But my point then is to throw it to you guys. As you arrive at the other side and see that you don't have a way out, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think at this point, given we're underwater and we have limited oxygen and we need to break through, um, I guess my idea I would go back to the idea I had before, was if we can like stick wedge a weapon into the ice, and then Dalton could cast heat and metal on that and maybe melt, or at least weaken the ice enough that we could smash through a little easier.
Okay, so obviously we like can't fully communicate underwater, but I think what Jinx will do is like kind of like move his way up towards like the front area or whatever and take a look at it, and I'll pull out my pistol and like give like the shrug, like let me try to shoot this, and then thinking either we could weaken the ice that way or you could potentially heat metal on the bullet. Obviously don't know if it's going to work underwater. I would not have any idea.
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't want to heat the bullet while it's in the gun. But if it
No, I'm talking about after I shoot it. If it shoots and works and goes into the ice, then you could heat metal on the bullet if you want it. But I don't know. That might not work that well. So I think regardless though, before you use a spell slot, I would gladly expend or attempt to expend a bullet.
So I'd say let's go for this idea. Let me have all of you roll initiative here to see how fast you're acting. And I want to do a +5 on Malchin for his roll. The other two of you, Jinx and Dalton, I'll put at the same level, because Dalton, you're technically coming up there next, but Jinx is also about to like shoot a gun. So potentially he's acting faster. But what is the order of your initiative, how you guys just rolled there? What do we got from Malchin?
Then I just could ask, is that like a +5 total or a +5 over my normal +4?
Yeah, it'd be a +9. Like I'm basically giving you 5 to whatever you roll.
Okay, then I would have rolled 21.
Gotcha. Jinx, what's yours?
A dirty 20 for Jinx.
And then Dalton, I don't think you have a +19 or +9.
Nope. It's 15, so Jinx would be able to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he'll act before me.
Yeah, so I would say, Malchin, when you get there, what are your thoughts to break through the ice?
Yeah, if I'm getting there first, I am probably just gonna like try to hack in my short sword like as deep as I can.
Gotcha. So let me get a short sword attack from you. Technically disadvantage for being. Oh wait, it's piercing, right?
Yeah, short
This is
sword is
straight
piercing.
attack.
So
24
it's,
should be a hit, no problem there.
oh yeah, it's 21 to hit for.
Yeah.
Let's see, what is it? 7 damage.
Gotcha. So your first attack, you stab the short sword into and through the ice, and you pierce through to the other side. So immediately the other two can see that Malchin at least has something that is pierced through to the other side. The two of you could potentially gain oxygen like from that hole if you needed to, like do something like that. You're still in freezing water. But you've got multi attack. If you would like to give me a second attack from that short sword.
Nat 20.
Nat 20. Yeah, that's just going to be one of those things where, like, stabbing the short sword through, you're able to, like, wrench at it, almost like a pry bar. And as it starts to cut through the ice, basically just exploding this, like, cap of ice into, like, a pretty large, like, chunk of this next room here. I'm going to say with that and with the crit, by the time Dalton and Jinx make it to this other side, you guys are all able to basically like move straight up and out of this. With that, though, I do want a constitution check as you guys are climbing out. And then I want, what ideas do you guys now have as you are freezing cold, stepping out of this ice?
Let's see, 19 from Malshin.
23 for Jinx.
Dalton just got a 6.
All right, so Dalton, roll a d4 for me. This is going to be how much cold you take. And then the other two, will you take 1 cold for me? All right, so yeah, it looks like Dalton kind of loses 4 hit points from cold moving through this corridor. You guys are still soaked. You're still in frigid cold air. It actually gets worse once you're actually in full air because it can also evaporate from you as well. Or your flesh just loses heat faster through being wet. And then Malchin and Jinx, you both each lose 2. So you're suffering. Dalton suffering a little bit more, but in the long run, you guys are now kind of like climbing out. Malchin being the first out of this little corridor, you are very quickly going to see, first off, there are no immediate threats in this room. As you do climb out, you are climbing into another room that is about 30 feet by 30 feet. So there's no immediate threats as you climb out. There's no massive creatures that like burst out of the wall. As you do kind of search around the walls, let me have you, Malchin, roll a perception check here for me. The die
Total of
roller
9.
made. Gotcha. The die roller stopped my revealing the shadow. That was kind of weird. All right. So, I made you roll that instead of doing your passive, just because you are suffering from the cold right now. So, Again, I did create an actual like floor of this room because there are indeed things around you. So I'm gonna say just because of how the roll goes, the first thing that you're going to notice is that there are 6 chests around this room. 3 of them are quite large, 3 of them are rather small. And then there is a central doorway in front of you. Everything is coated in ice, which wouldn't be surprising to you because you guys all feel pretty soon here you're going to be coated in ice if you don't do something about it. So, what are your first thoughts as you 3 climb from the ice? And again, I have the like map on the lowest level um, that actually shows the chest there as well.
Do any of the chests appear to be made of wood? And well, they're in ice, and they're probably might not be good enough to. I was thinking we could try to break one of them down to make a campfire to warm up, but
Roll an investigation, Dalton.
it's be an 11.
Gotcha. The smallest chest, which is probably like almost like the size of a music box, is made out of wood. Were it functional and not like through and through iced, it might give you a little bit of fire, but it's definitely not going to create a bonfire.
I don't suppose one of you gentlemen has a torch or two, and I'm going to pull out my magic match and say, if there was ever a good time to use this bad boy, I think it's probably now, unless you can make fire.
Oh, I have an idea. Not sure if it works. Do we have like the chests? Like, are any of them like iron chests or like metal chests?
Looking around, most of them are indeed made of different metals.
Dalton, do you think you could do that trick with heating metal on one of those? Give us heat.
Do I think the okay? Because I'm not sure exactly how large an object can be that it will let me affect it. So, does there appear to be anything? Um,
I don't think
any
heat metal has a like decided value. So I would say you could heat any of these given chests. Like the one north of where Jinx is probably about like 6 or so feet. The one immediately to the west of that is probably about like 4 or 5 feet. And then the one immediately like west of Jinx is probably about like 8 feet. The one west of Jinx is longer than it is wide. Um, but like they're all relatively kind of like flat chests, maybe like 6 or 8 inches deep kind of thing. And like the one north of Jinx probably has the largest area at say like 8 inches deep, 6 feet wide, and like 3 feet. Um, my bad. That's probably where I should have said deep. So say like 3 feet by 6 foot by like 8 inches. So in meters, let's say like 4 meters by 2 meters by a half meter.
Yeah, so Dalton, kind of teeth chattering, will. I think I could probably one of these might do.
What are you all wearing for your armor right now? What kind of armor does everybody wear?
Studded leather for Dalton.
Same for Malshan.
Mine
Uh,
is just like leather, light armor.
Gotcha. So you're all in light. So you've got about a minute to take off your armor. Here's one of the things: heat metal only lasts for a minute, right?
Yeah, I think up to a minute.
As far as things go, if you guys are wearing armor that is soaked, heat metal is going to do something, but it's not going to dry both you and your armor off. You kind of have the issue of like that armor is going to be soaked pretty much regardless. If you guys want to be dried off and not like hypothermic, one of the best things that you can do is essentially getting buck naked and drying yourselves off. Heat metal will staunch the cold for a time, but it's not a long term solution. But it is a solution.
Yeah, I forgot. I to be honest, I forgot about the limited time. Yeah, but Dalton would know how long it lasts. So
Yeah, yeah. That's part of why I'm just straight up saying it.
So Jinx is already going to be just like getting undressed, like assuming that that's like our plan after getting soaked. But definitely is inquiring about who has a torch or multiple torches. But I still think the match is like my like go-to.
yeah, Dalton will similarly be kind of stripping out of his armor, and then probably the clothes underneath as well. Is this something that, in terms of like drying the clothes, um, something that the cantrip could help with, or is it still too cold in here? Essentially, but I do have a couple torches that I could, assuming
Yeah.
they're not.
So one thing about having prestidigitation, like those matches are cool little things, but like prestidigitation can light things. So you can use magic to create fire. Um, those matches are a cool little item, but in the long run, they're a second rate to magic that is one a cantrip, so you can always do it. Um, so you don't necessarily need to consume that when he has prestidigitation. So that's a good backup for if Jinx you're ever in a bind. But yeah, I think at this point you would recognize that Dalton can create fire without a problem. It's just not necessarily an amazing fire. Um, you can chill, warm, or flavor up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material. Um,
Essentially, like putting his clothes through the dryer.
yeah, 1 cubic foot is just so small. Um, I think, and you could do up to 3 cubic feet at a time.
Yeah, it would be kind
I
of thing like if
think,
anything, we would try to focus on like maybe like their footwear sort of thing.
yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I think the fact that you can do it 3 times, prestidigitation can be a solid way for you guys to dry your clothing. It might take an hour, it might take like 3 or 4, where you would be naked inside of this room. But you could use heat metal to heat one of these chests and staunch the dangers of cold during that time if you wanted to. But I would say prestidigitation probably is more effective at the potential of drying your clothing. Um, or at least just not making it frigid. See, the problem is it's warm, not heat up. Um, but yeah, I would say between those potentials, you've got a little bit of a solution. But none of these are like a solid solution as, having something that was waterproof and having a fire over here. Nothing is as good as if somebody actually had, like create bonfire. So you have options. I would say that is potentially the option to go for. But yeah, like stripping down is probably the best way to staunch the immediate cold. It's one of those counterintuitive things, but getting naked and rolling in the snow is the best way to dry yourself off and stop hypothermia. But you also need a fire generally to start heating yourself up as well.
Anybody carrying anything that we can essentially burn, try to make a makeshift fire out of?
Those torches right there, we could pile enough of them together and at least get something going. I also have prestidigitation. Kind of slipped my mind there. Could do that as well.
Gotcha. How many torches do you guys have between you?
I am carrying 3.
I don't have any, but I do have some arrows. I could. Like 17 arrows. I'm not sure how much that would help.
And Jinx, are you carrying any torches?
Oh no, I'm torchless. I never really thought of the application of light would fail me.
Gotcha. So, did you have another thought?
Um, well, I was thinking actually I could for some reason he's still carrying his loot around, and I could essentially smash that and try to use that for kindling along with the maybe like the arrow shafts. But I think it's actually my arcane focus, so I can't do that.
I mean, if we can, I could have a longbow as well, but I mean, I really want to keep that if I can, but if we can't, I'll offer that as well.
I mean, I could. I don't know how much wood it is, but like I could smash up my crossbow. It was a hand crossbow, so and it probably has some metal component, so it wouldn't be much.
I'd say you're roughly looking at a similar amount of wood in a hand crossbow as like a longbow. Like his is thinner. A crossbow has like more of a stock to it. Guys, let me know what your final decision is, and then I'll decide on how well it works. Right now, I feel like everybody's stripping.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Dalton is. I think Jake
So
said
you're
he
looking
is.
at roughly a minute to get, just dry, basically stripping of your clothes, rolling in some snow, and then you're at like a dry state. Is that everybody's initial plan? That's your first minute?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Gotcha. So if everybody's going forward with that, let me get one more con save.
Ooh, that's a nat 1 for me. So a 2.
Cold does not like you, Dalton. You can regain inspiration though.
Yeah, I got a 19 on mansion.
I have 8 so far, but I'm gonna use my inspiration to add to it.
Gotcha. Roll a 2 and you're good. All right. So Malchin and Jinx, you're like staunched and dry at that point. Dalton, just take 1 point. Oh wait, you rolled a 1. What's your con modifier with Dalton? You're a
It's only a
+1.
+1, so it's a 2 total. Yeah.
Yeah, roll a d4 again for me, Dalton. All right, so take another 3 as the cold chills you even further there. So this has you all at a dry state. You are at least no longer losing cold through like being wet on your flesh. Like you can start to build up that like vapor barrier immediately around your skin. You guys can start to prestidigitate to dry like your bundles of clothes. I'm gonna say the two uses of it, like kind of stacked, gives you an ability to actually like not only warm them, but actually like add some heat that might dry them in this otherwise cold condition here. But you're definitely kind of like looking at that is a long-term solution to potentially getting your clothing back on. You still have this room around you with these 6 chests. They are all covered in ice. So if you wanted to start the fire, you can immediately start the fire around you now. And you have at least torches and arrows and the potential of the crossbow and the bow. And you guys can let me know when you actually light the fire, what you're going to do it with. And if you add that to like burning them inside of one of the chests, that chest might add a little bit more uh like focused heat because you're heating the metal that will also return it to you. And that also brings in the possibility of using heat metal to add to that like radiant heat as well. But when you go on this now like second minute inside of this room, inside of these frigid like just out of the water conditions, what is the final decision? Do you want to just start a fire immediately here? Do you want to try to get to one of these chests? Are you going to use heat metal? Are you going to burn the bow or the crossbow?
I feel like if we can use one of the chests, it might also kind of focus the heat a little bit rather than putting it out in the open. So maybe we try to get one of these chests, and then Dalton will sacrifice his hand crossbow to kind of for some kindling to try to get the fire started. And then
What chest sounds best to you, Dalton? The like longest and thinnest, the kind of like medium one, or the overall like kind of largest area one?
I was thinking maybe the one, I don't know why it caught my eye, but the one in the northwest there, in the northwest corner of the room.
Like center of those top 3?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Are you gonna heat metal it, or are you just going for the bonfire?
I think probably just the bonfire. If we can get it started, without the heat metal.
Gotcha. So you can either give me an attack, or you can ask Malchin to give an attack to try to bust off some of the ice around it. Or are you just gonna light the fire on top of it?
No, he'll try to. I think trying to break through the ice first would be better. Malshin seemed to be able to smash through the ice that let us get in here in the first place. So if he doesn't mind,
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to smash some ice.
well, Dalton is kind of smashing his crossbow to, trying to get the pieces of wood.
Did you have a comment a few moments ago, Sarah? Jinx?
Oh, nothing important. Just in like Jinx fashion, like not having anything to offer up to burn. He'll like look down at his boomerang and act like he's about to put it in the fire, and then pull it back and say, "I mean, Ebba would never forgive me. I'm sorry, I can't do it."
Gotcha, Malchin. Did you roll those attacks?
Not yet. I'll do now. Nat 20 on the first one. What the frick is
All right,
going on?
that's good enough. So Malchin's initial attack is focus enough that he can like strike at the like joinery of the lid of this case and kind of like its not necessarily lock mechanism, like a latch mechanism, and can like strike at it there at like a seal point that already kind of like weakens the ice into like a top and a bottom sort of thing. And you can shatter away the ice and kind of like free like the top of this chest. You will notice as you strike at it though, the ice breaks, the chest itself is not like freed or anything. Like you cut into where like the latch is, like you pierce through there and the ice kind of shatters around it. And you have the chest. But when you strike into it and can actually see the top of the chest, you will immediately notice that the top of this chest says, "A blade to slice the flesh of any foe of freedom." But you can light the fire on top of it if you would like.
So seeing that, is it written in common? Can we all read it?
It is indeed.
Do you think we should try to get it open first? When assuming that might be what's supposed to be inside.
I feel like our first priority should be to get some heat and get dry. Don't think the chest will go anywhere.
I would assume I'm like pretty focused on just doing the cantrip over and over. So
It's 3 times over the hour to do prestidigitation, so it takes you like 18 seconds to essentially like heat your clothes for an hour.
oh, sick. Okay. Well, yeah, I will. I can either help like break some of the ice from some of the other chests, or try to help. Maybe offer up the crowbar to try to like pry it open, or Malcolm maybe could pick the lock. I don't know.
So I was just thinking it would, if we can try to create the fire inside the chest, almost like using like a trash can fire kind of thing. It might help kind of protect the heat, or center the concentrate. I think is the word I'm looking for. The heat.
So is it locked, that chest, after you get the ice away from it?
It is indeed.
Malchin, you still got that lock pick? You think if we focus a little bit of heat on there, you might be able to get the mechanism to move, or it would take the brute strength approach? And I'll hold out my crowbar.
I can try the lockpick first, and if that doesn't work, we'll just pry it open if we can.
Should be wary of traps too. When all this trouble to hide them down here, so who knows what other nasty surprises they might have left here.
Would you like to check it for traps, Dalton?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, to the extent I can. Yeah.
Roll
Also,
investigation.
before he does his investigation, like seeing him about to do this, Jinx will put his hand on his shoulder, and he'll say, "Now, do a good job now in this little tight space. If there's some kind of explosion or something, it's probably the end of all three of us." And I'll give him bardic inspiration.
Which I am definitely going to use. Oh God, that's still only a 9.
So Dalton takes a quick look over it as he is horrifically shivering in the cold. Doesn't seem to see anything that is trapping this object. As I need everybody to make Constitution saving throws, please. And now that you're dry, you all can have advantage.
I got a 19 again.
All right, 21 that time.
And Jinx is 19 also.
Gotcha. So at this point, I'm gonna go for Jinx and Machin, I think I've got you with a total of 3 in a row since you've been out of the water. I'm done asking you guys for checks as far as things go. Dalton is still suffering from the cold in a different way. So there's still like a level of importance ahead of you guys. But the two of you are getting a little bit more kind of like naturalized to this. Um, it's cold. It's not necessarily frigid cold for you where you are suffering. But you guys have the apparently non-locked or non-trapped but locked chest in front of you. Malchin, would you like to try to pick it?
Now I'm gonna do the same thing for Malchin again too.
All right. No pressure.
No pressure, buddy. Remember now, it's not how well you score on a test. It's what you do in the real world with those skills. Show us what you got.
What is it? It's a D8 for the or D6.
A 1d8.
All right. Dirty 20 with that.
It is a dexterity check. What is your total?
Oh, then it's a 24.
I think this might be the first time Malchin's actually unlocking a chest in the wild, because that is just barely enough. As you are picking this chest, this is one of the most difficult locks that you have ever found yourself in front of. And for a moment, you wonder if you have the ability. But with a little bit of warmth in your heart from Jinx's well wishes, you kind of stick to it and think about some of your training with the Five Fingers Guild, and you make sure to feel for any extra pins that are kind of hidden in like unthought of spots. And this is one of those things where you have like 2 or 3 pins on like the bottom that you can feel, and you're like, okay, I think I have these all in place, but before I try, let me make sure there's not one up top as well. And you move your pick up and you feel to see if you can feel like the subtle depression of a pin, and you're able to get it up. And you do feel that little bit of depression as you find another pin that only moves the slightest bit of a millimeter. And you keep those 4 in place with the pressure that you have, and you start to spin it with a little bit of more torque to the side, and there's a quick little as you hear the lock mechanism go into place, and the latch falls open. And you've unlocked your probably most difficult latch that you've ever worked on. And you notice as the latch unlocks, there's not an actual mechanism in front of you. Whatever it was that you were feeling a magical lock. And that's part of why I say this is one of the most difficult locks you've ever picked, because this was an arcane lock. But in front of you is approximately a 4.5 foot long longsword. It has a double-handed hilt. It is a nice, beautiful, clean, kind of like dark, blackish blue metal. It's completely free of any tarnishing, and it just kind of like gleams with a little bit of like blue at its edge. And you can just kind of see this is a magical weapon of sorts. It looks really beautiful, looks really new, and it's nice weapon that you probably don't want to burn. But you could also start a fire inside of this case that is lined with like felt and other like soft fabrics to keep the sword itself clean. So you guys can go ahead. One more con save from Dalton here as he is picking the lock, though.
Oh wait, you're saying
My
one more
bad,
for
Dalton.
Dalton?
Yeah, just with Dalton. You can still have advantage though. You are still dry, Dalton. Excellent. So two of you have kind of like ceased shivering, Jinx and Malchin. Dalton is still shivering. He is still suffering from the cold. But even you are starting to feel yourself kind of gain control of those shivers. So I think you already said you're starting to break up the crossbow. So I'm going to say the crossbow is already destroyed and ready to burn. You guys have those 3 torches ready to burn. How many arrows is Malchin throwing into this fire? And is Malchin breaking up his longbow?
I think with the cold overflow, he would probably just go like all in on the arrows. And seeing Dalton break up the crossbow, he's gonna keep his longbow.
I always think of crossbow bolts as metal, but would they be wood as well?
Yeah. Crossbow bolts, modern arrows are a completely different thing than ancient tech. Crossbows, even up to like massive scorpions, still used wooden bolts. They are effectively larger diameter, but yeah, they are just as much wood as arrows are.
All right. So in that case, Malchin, maybe since I've already broken up the crossbow, I'll just save your arrows and I'll use my bolts because I got no use for them now.
All right.
I mean, I'll keep a couple, I guess, just in case I happen to find another crossbow somewhere. But I'll take like a dozen of them and add them to the pile.
Gotcha. I would say in the long run that is a perfectly sufficient sacrifice as far as I am concerned. That Dalton can end his con saves. You guys are still in a cold room. You can start this fire. It does kind of like burn up. There is no exit for the carbon monoxide to exit the room. But it is about, what is it, like I think 20 or 30 feet tall. It's about 10 feet or so tall. So, it's not an immediate threat to you guys. But it is definitely the type of thing like you don't want to stay here forever burning stuff as there is limited oxygen. But you got 5 more of these cases. You guys have weathered the threat of the immediate cold and the massive door to the west. What is your priority?
So I'm sorry, my Bluetooth had gone out for a sec, but I assume Malchin had taken the longsword.
Yeah, he probably would. As we got it open.
You guys just
Well,
want Malchin to have all the chaos tech?
oh wait, Dalton could. I didn't. I forgot. Bards are. We are proficient with those. It's rogues that aren't proficient with long swords. Okay.
I mean, I'm happy to give it to you.
Well, let's see what's. We can see what's in these other chests. Hopefully, if we can get them open as well while we're in here.
I mean, if we've got a sort of limited time with the fire burning and everything, should either maybe we should focus on the larger chests first, and then worst case scenario, we could just carry the little ones out of here. But I don't know how many of these are going to be locked and how much time or effort it's going to take to unlock them. So start focus on the big ones and work our way to small.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, to me too.
So you've got like the 8-foot one that's like 2 or so feet like wide, and like 8 or so inches like top to bottom, or you have the one that is like 6 by 3 by like 8 or so inches deep. But both of those are rather large. Which one is next?
And just want to check, like, I'm assuming until we kind of clear the ice away, we're not able to make out if any of these others have similar writing on them.
I would say looking over them, you can make out that they have writing. Without clearing away the ice, you cannot figure out what is written on.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
But now that you've seen it, you can recognize that all of these cases do indeed have some sort of inscription on top.
And it looks like they're essentially kind of going counterclockwise, or almost smallest to largest.
On some level, yeah. The first three are kind of a little bit different, but in the long run, it's the three big cases up north, and then the cases to the south are all somewhat descending.
Right. Yeah, so I guess start with the one in the corner, the one that Malchin's at now. Actually, well, maybe we just split up and start like trying to clear away the ice while from a couple at once.
Gotcha. Who wants to clear away what chest?
Well, Dalton's right here, so he'll go ahead and take this other larger one.
Yeah, I think.
Assuming Malchin will clear that one then.
Yeah.
Jinx, which one would you like to clear?
I'll just go like with the plan, or you know what? Actually, yeah, I'll just like focus on breaking the chest free, because I feel like these ones are more like to where we could potentially take them if we had to.
Gotcha. Not trying to look, you're just trying to break it free. So Malchin, you can see once you break away the ice that chest says twinned weapons, sure to deal death to the oppressing angels. Or wait, my bad, oppressor angels. And then Dalton, you can see this is sure to pierce the heart of an overwhelmed tyrant. And then Jinx, let me get a strength check from you.
It's a smooth 8, and I don't know. Does the crowbar make any difference there or no?
You can have advantage.
Okay, much better. 15.
Give me one moment here. Alrighty. So I would say that you pretty quickly realize that you're not even budging the chest as you try to like stab in this crowbar and try to like force it away from the ice. There's like no movement at all. You don't feel like you can get any purchase underneath it in the least bit.
I don't know how it's working for you gentlemen, but I don't think the plan's gonna work here. Whatever magic is sealing these chests shut, it feels like it's holding them in place too.
So part of why I say that is between the DC that it takes to like snap them free and your negative strength, it is impossible for you to break these free. That's part of why I say it like that. Um, and then Arcane Lock is technically something you guys could get with magical secrets, so it's not like impossible for you to know some of how it works, but it's not traditionally a bard spell. Um, So I feel like it's one of those things that at present, it's recognizable. I think even Malchin, your strength modifier is a +1, right?
Yeah, a +1.
Yeah, so it again kind of falls back to is like you guys are kind of strength wise, you can't break these free. Would you like to try to pick the next of these? Um, you guys have a solid sense that inspiring Malchin definitely worked on the last one. Inspiring him and picking them with the locks is probably your best chance. There is the potential that inspiring each other and using the crowbar can be effective. It's just up to you to see how effective.
Well, I'll let them know the writing that I see on my chest, and I will. Malchin's the only one of us who has a prayer of picking these locks if they're assuming they're all locked. So Dalton's going to go ahead and if Malchin is ready to try picking the lock on this one, he will inspire him. It'll be a D8 for me as well, Malchin.
All right, here goes nothing.
So remember that you can roll your d20 before you have to decide whether you are using the Bardic Inspiration. But you roll
Yeah,
it
I,
anyways.
yeah, I accidentally clicked it. I was trying to click await, but it didn't work. That should have been like that's a 9. Yeah, that one was the one who rolled first. So that's the 11, 15 total.
Wait,
The-
why did you have 2d8 in there?
Yeah, I accidentally double clicked it.
Okay,
No,
okay, I got you.
but the first one was the +1.
So what was your total? Like with your dexterity check? No
Yeah,
proficiency?
that is 15.
Gotcha. Yeah, so moving around with this one, you kind of like expect for the lock to be in a similar kind of function. Like the lock feels in many ways very similar as you're like looking over it and feeling like the initial point. But you do quickly realize that with the entirely arcane mechanism, there's no reason for it to be the same as the last, and you're kind of stumped on this one after a few minutes of work. Uh, you're not really finding anything. And it takes you, uh, probably almost like 20 or so minutes to get this lock. There's no reason that you guys can't unlock all of these as long as you're willing to spend the time. But that's going to be kind of like the difference here is like how long each one takes you. Took you a minute to get the first one, took you 20 minutes to get this one. But as you pop the chest open, there are two great swords inside of that chest. Each one seems to be a mirror of the other. They are each a deep, kind of like obsidian black, each of them with a long hilt that's almost like a foot and a half long, and they seem to each have like similar, almost like damage done to each blade, as if like they've each been used to chop into something and like had damage done to the blade like at the same point. But otherwise, they seem entirely untarnished. Besides that, they have effectively like what are like wounds to swords in the same places as one another.
So I guess at
Uh,
some point in time during that process, I'll like move on to the next one, understanding that I probably can't like cut it free. But I think I would try to get to like be able to read it.
well, I was going to say, in that time, are Dalton and Jinx, do you have thoughts on what you're doing? Because again, he's going to take 20 minutes over there. So like if you guys are interested in like uncovering the inscriptions on the other three, that is perfectly fine. If you have other thoughts on trying to break them free, you can certainly let me know. But like, is reading them probably what you would do over the next 20 minutes?
Yeah, I don't have a way to. I don't think I have a way to try to get into the chest. So gonna have to rely on Malchin for that. So in the meantime, yeah, I think it makes sense that Dalton would be helping Jinx try to kind of uncover the remaining chests.
Excellent.
Maybe I could do like the heavy lifting with the crowbar, and you could try to like scrape away to where we can read what's inside.
Yeah, in the long run, like getting to the inscription isn't necessarily. Or wait, do you mean you're trying to break them free with the crowbar?
Oh no, like I'm picturing these are like fully like encased in ice. So like previously I was trying to like break the chest like free. But I realized like that's probably not gonna happen so much. So now I would just be
Yeah.
yeah.
The point of encasing them in ice is that this room is like completely frozen over in ice, more than to say that there's like having Malchin do an initial effort to get to it is just something. Once you guys are kind of recognizing that you're in this room for an extended period of time, it's just another thing. You guys can get to these inscriptions. So yeah, you've got the first three inscriptions. Chest 4, the one initially that Jinx went for, is hear the word of chaos, fools, and despair. And kind of oddly, I think I transcribed it correctly. It's chaos, comma, fools, and despair. So it's not like hear the word of chaos, fools, and despair. It's hear the word of chaos, fools, and despair. I don't know. I just think that's kind of a weird thing to. Maybe they just don't have the same grammar as us. Chest 5 is tools of the fearsome chaos priests. And then chest 6, no chains can bind us, and no lock can resist the magic of this key of freedom.
Well, that sounds like exactly what we're here for.
Melchin, maybe you ought to try this one next. Gesturing to the sixth chest.
All right.
If we can get that one open, it might help us with the others.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get right to it.
How does the actual room look now, like smoky wise? Is it starting to get bad?
Not specifically. You guys are still like warming your clothes with that initial prestidigitation. You're still like 20 minutes or so. You know, you're at like 21 or 23 minutes of being in this room. You're adding smoke up top by burning those things, like in that fire. But in the long run, like the little bit that you burned, it's not going to be severe kind of thing as long as you guys leave this room within a day or so. So, Malchin, or rather, would anybody like to inspire Malchin before he attempts to unlock the chest that appears to have Nevrin's key locked within?
Can I give him my regular inspiration and the bardic inspiration, or is that too much?
I would say with the fact that you guys can all gain inspiration so easily, I'm not necessarily down to let you give away your like outside of the game inspiration. But
Yeah.
you can certainly bardic inspire him. Do you have regular inspiration right now, Malchin? I believe no.
No, I've used mine. So
And then also, this is one of those things where even so, he's going to get in. It's not like a fail state of how you roll. It's a question of how long it's going to take.
Gotcha. Okay, so yes, I'll just bardic inspire him. Give him my last bit of the last bit of
So
inspiring words I can summon right now.
again, with how inspiring words works, like the bardic inspiration works, you don't have to roll it initially. You can roll the d20 first to see if you would like.
That's a 23. 23. Holy crap! English.
Do you feel pretty comfortable with the 23? Or would
I
you like to add bardic inspiration?
feel like the first one we got was 24, so I'm gonna add just to make sure.
Gotcha. You're gonna get in then. So taking about another minute or so, Malchin fiddles around with this one, and again, it's a very similar locking mechanism to your eye, to the initial feel inside of it. It is the same thing. It's a very similar inner mechanism, but what you're finding is each time that you've like started to manipulate one of these arcane locks, and again with the second chest you opened, once you opened it there was no locking mechanism remaining. So as you go inside of this one, it is also feeling the same, looks the same, but when you start to actually feel the pins that you're using to unlock the mechanism, they are all in different places. And in this one, you have a similar feeling where you get like 3 or so that you feel nice and easily, but then you have to calm yourself and take that time to feel for the most minute, like hair trigger of a pin, and you are able to find it and unlatch it. And, about a minute goes by as you guys see he unlocks it. And when this one pops open, again, the mechanism kind of is no longer there, like visibly, and you can see that inside there is a small brass key that appears to be like a big brass ring, and then it has like 3 little points that come off of it, each one almost appearing to be like a different skeleton key, but they're all in the same direction, so they're all like looking, pointing off to the right, and each one has like its own little like pins that kind of come off from it. Like 2 go downward, 1 goes upward. So it's almost like a musical note how it looks like. But you would appear to have found Neverin's Alki.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Well done, Malchin.
Thank you. Uh, yeah.
And should we try it on the rest of these while we're here? And Malchin, do you mind if Dalton takes the longsword?
No, definitely. Yeah, go ahead. That's perfectly fine.
Do we know anything about this key? Like, have we read up anything? Is it the type of thing where it's like one key unlocks one lock and then it's gone? Or can we like just unlock all locks forever with this? Do we have any idea about that?
It's probably been a month or so since you all did any research on it. Did you guys write down any of what you found? I think it was May 14th that we were doing the research.
I don't have anything useful written down about like the specifics of its use.
So I would say, at very least, you've got the clue that this is like a historic object that opens locks, all locks. So I at least think you can know that it doesn't disappear after you use it.
And perhaps there's some limit to its use. I know certain, well, like your staff, but can't imagine it's one and done sort of thing.
All right, I think that's a great, actually, observation there. That being said, it could be something like the staff where it gets back charges after so long, so you have a limited amount of time to use it, but it lasts forever. So maybe we should use the key on the door to make sure we can get out of here. And Malcolm's been having pretty good luck with these cases. I would imagine if we spend enough time, he'll get them open. Or maybe we could try the door first, get that open, and then try it on the treasure chest.
So, with attention brought to the door, you guys can see beyond its ice that's kind of iced over the door. There is also writing on it. You can also not make out that writing without breaking away the ice. And then the other question I have is, Machin, when you unlocked that little chest, did you pick up the key?
Yeah, I would have picked up the key.
As you pick up the key, you immediately feel sluggish, tired, exhaustion. It's difficult just to hold up your limbs. Gain a level of exhaustion. As if there was any question, I believe, from Dalton about what the cost is of this key, Malchin knows. This key is exhausting to possess.
In that case, Jinx, you might be right. Perhaps we should focus on the door first. Make sure we've got a way out.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. I mean, we could always swim back if we need to. At least, temporarily.
Would you all like to clean off the ice on the door while Malchin tries another chest? Or do you all want to focus on the door first?
Well, Melton, I'll leave it to you if you feel up for trying another chest. But I'll try and help Jinx maybe reveal what the writing is on the door here.
So you don't have to tell me, it's kind of meta. Is Malchin using thieves tools? Like, is he proficient, or is he like still like building up his proficiency?
Malchin does not have proficiency.
And like as a player, him obviously saying like he feels exhausted or knows like the toll, do we know, does that affect his ability check rolls?
Yeah, first level exhaustion is on ability checks, so it would immediately affect his ability to unlock these.
So maybe we could have Malchin work on the door, and if I could be so, helpful, I could give one of the locks a try. I'm not saying I would be able to get it, but it's worth an attempt.
I mean, sure, if you want to have a go at it, you can borrow my tools. Just try not to break them.
I mean, I'll try, but they don't call me Jinx for nothing. I just feel bad. It feels like you're carrying the burden for all of us, metaphorically and physically. And I will give him my last bardic inspiration. Or wait, use yours, Ellery. So to try to get the door open.
Wait, right now you guys are going for the ice on the door. And you were about to try one of the chests.
Okay, so I'll just hang tight to give him the bardic inspiration till they clear off the ice. Then I guess.
Gotcha. So do you want to try a chest as they clear away the ice? You can roll uh, a dexterity check. I guess this is like with damn, why can't I think of the word for initiative where you can have half proficiency? So what is it, a +1 right now on a half proficiency?
How do you know that? Does it say proficiency? Oh, okay. It's +3 normally proficiency. So It would be what, plus
Yeah,
2?
so +1. And then,
So it's only
well, I
9.
guess really you could calculate how much the plus is from your initiative to see whether the bonus matches up. It's effectively an initiative roll. That's what it should have had you roll. But your die was a 4. What is your initiative bonus?
It's 4 and 4, and dexterity is plus 3.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's right now it's a +1 for half. But yeah, so an 8. Um, I think an 8's gonna put Jinx at messing with this lock for quite some time. This is going to be one of the things where I think it's more a question of how trusting is everybody that Jinx can get into this, more than me saying that you will get into it. Because before, you guys were just trusting that Malchin was the person to unlock locks for you. But Jinx is trying something out new. So to me, my curiosity is like, if I was going to tell you that Jinx takes 8 hours, do you guys have that patience? If I was going to tell you that Jinx takes 45 minutes, do you have that patience? How patient are you all to allow Jinx to try this lock?
I think Malshin at least would be like patient enough to that they get the doors so they can read it, inscription, and then go and look for Jinx, just check on him, and when he sees he has like trouble with it, just just let me, I'll do it. Just not really having the patience. Not sorry, Jinx, but I'm not really trusting you with my lock picks either. I only have one set.
Yeah, I feel like especially after Malcolm was like, "Don't break him," and like seeing him like fiddling around for too long is like he's gonna break him. But I'll leave that to Malchin because they're his tools. How patient he wants to be.
So I think that's probably a pretty solid end result there. Normally, I'm going to start breaking picks when you fail a DC by 5 or so. Uh, Play this off a little bit differently because it is an arcane lock, so there's not really an actual physical mechanism in there so much as there's magic. Um, Maybe Malchin's pulling these away, and you can see that there are damage to them that you could replace picks, or that you could simply have somebody like repair them for you. But there is certainly like some damage to the picks when you get them back from Jinx. But yeah, it takes you guys about 5 or 10 minutes to get the ice cleared from the door. So it sounds like you don't even give him a chance to get like a full way into potentially damaging and breaking a large amount of those picks over a long time of trying to unlock that mechanism. Let's see if I can drop the picture into Discord or if I have to take a picture to upload it. I don't understand why I can take a picture and upload it without a problem, but I can't just drop them. Alrighty, so you can see the doors ahead of you. Um, as you scrape away the I know it's semi-readable, but I also knew the greatest threats to the stalwart kings of order, created by that ancient elven champion, Vaud the Slayer. So at present, you all have the 7 inscriptions of this room. You've opened up 3 of the chests, and you have Nevrin's all key in Malchin's possession. Let's take a break here and come back in 15 minutes.
Yeah, sounds good.
Who do we have back right now?
I'm still here.
I'm back.
Yeah, I'm good too.
So, what is the next step, Hall?
So did Malchin actually use the key on the door, or did they only get to be able to read it?
We only got until we were able to read it, right? Because I haven't used the key yet.
Yeah, my bad. That would be basically getting to a point where you can read it. And I would also say, since Malchin is one of the people clearing away the ice, you could pretty quickly recognize that the door is locked in a similar fashion.
Yeah, and Dalton's going to mention the writing. It like I was almost expecting something about like we were thinking maybe this is a door out, but it almost seems like it's similar to the writing we've seen on the chests. Like behind this door is I don't know, like a weapon or a creature, the threat, whatever that threat
What do you
is.
guys know from the journal is being held underneath the Pythonese house?
Oh, the journal said there were more demons that had been created, right? And they were being um, kept underground.
I think in general the journal was saying, um, I feel like the demon it was referencing the Rodinator, the thing that you guys fought, that like goat. Um, but I was kind of reaffirming that the journal says they store their weapons underneath Epiphany's house.
Oh, maybe I just I thought it said something about creating more things, but maybe it was maybe I added in on my own that they were underground.
I feel like one of the things is you guys are not necessarily. I think the other thing to recognize is the potential of the other spirit that inhabits that statue. That might be kind of what it is, because there's the spirit of the house and then the demon, and I feel like that's when you guys got on other demons rather than just kind of recognizing there's those two different kind of things. And then also I feel like the cobbled man, um, not necessarily saying that there's not a demon in that room. You might have a solid interpretation of it, but I just wanted to kind of bring up that was one of the things that I felt like was a potential misunderstanding.
Okay, I see where I misread it. It said that the goat headed thing, so that I think was the demon that we fought, the Rodinator, has called demons from the Dark Reliquary to adhere. But then it said um, they joined the menagerie of rat things. So maybe those other demons were some of the other things that we fought within the house itself, rather than being down here. Okay, yep. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we try and get this door open? See what's behind it, or
Might just be my greed talking, but I feel like we should open the other chests first. Then we can check the door.
I have to imagine whatever's behind there is pretty big. So
It
I
is
like
like a
your
10
idea,
foot by
Malchin.
10 foot like double door.
Yeah, I like your idea, Malchin.
Yeah, I mean, currently we're not really pressed for time. If we open that door, it could change. So if you're going to use these lockpicks and actually make them useful, we could save the key for last, or if we need it to get open the big door.
Yeah, I think with the way I started feeling after picking up the key, I'm gonna save the key for the big door and use my lock picks for the other things. Just to make sure.
Well, certainly don't seem easy, but and I don't have any particular skill myself. But if you wanted me to try, I'd be willing to. My hands finally seem to have stopped shaking too badly from the cold. but I leave it up to you, Malchin.
I think I'll do it myself. Yes. So if they break, at least it's me breaking them.
Fair enough.
Can I have I think, insight, intelligence from Malchin? So if you have insight proficiency, you can use proficiency, but otherwise it's a intelligence roll.
Nat 1 for a total of 1.
You can gain inspiration, but other than that, continue on.
So I guess now I'm gonna go ahead and give Malchin that inspiration from before, that bardic inspiration, and I'll light up a cigarette. I have 2 left now, and I'll offer one up to you, gentlemen, if you would like one.
Is that why you were asking how smoke filled the room was? You're like, can I get in like a last cigarette, or am I gonna kill everybody?
I mean, I don't want to be the straw that broke the camel's back, metaphorically or physically, but maybe.
Mara, can I do an intelligence check for Dalton? I have an idea, but I'm not sure it would come to him about the key.
I mean, you're always welcome to roll intelligence checks, but what are you thinking?
I'm thinking if it's, maybe it's an effect of actually carrying the key on your person. So if Malchin handed the key to somebody else, they would be exhausted, and maybe the effect would fall off of him and he'd have a better chance of opening the locks. But the risk is that that's not how it works. And if somebody else takes the key, then they're just also exhausted and Malchin stays exhausted.
So you, Justin, are welcome to either give yourself a DC and roll to find out. I always do that myself when I'm playing. Or if you would like to, you can roll for it, or you could simply ask him. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll give I'll do I'm gonna do a DC 10 and I'll make it an Arcana
Yeah.
check.
So
Since a magic
10 is
item,
an
so.
easy check. Yeah, and then if you make it Arcana, you still have half, if not proficiency and whatnot. So go for it.
Okay, that is a
To have at
10 with
least half.
my jack of
Yeah.
all trades. So it's Dalton will, because Malchin seemed to become exhausted when he picked up the key. So, Dalton will turn to Malchin and say, maybe if you're going to try and get these locks open, I could hold on to the key for now. Maybe you'll feel a bit better.
Yeah, even consider the idea like that you had where I'm just kind of curious what happens while you're working on those. Let me hold that.
Yeah, on that, Martian will with him. Yeah, sure.
As soon as you hand it over to him, Malchin, you feel your muscles regain their strength. You feel your energy rise. And you do not have exhaustion anymore. Dalton, as soon as you take possession of the key, you feel lethargic. You feel a weight press down on your shoulders. To lift your muscles just feels difficult. You gain 1 level of exhaustion.
Yeah, so Dalton will he'll struggle over maybe like towards the door and almost just I'm just going to take the load off for a minute, and he'll like kind of sit down, slump down by the door, still holding the key.
Dalton, do you want to set the key on the ground?
I feel like I don't know. We came so far. He's like paranoid about something's going to happen if we let it out of our
That's
possession. So I
perfectly
think
fine.
I think he's gonna hold on to it.
Jinx, I saw you light up there for a second. Did you have a thought?
Oh no, I was actually just gonna recommend, or at least mention, that we could potentially just set it down, but that was already addressed. So
Yeah, part of why I said that one straightforward was if you were already feeling scientific about exploring it, you could potentially explore that other avenue. But yeah, Malchin, what chest are you going to approach? You have Jinx's final inspiration. Remember, you don't have to use it until you already try to pick the chest. But which one is the next highest priority?
I think I will go with the big one, like to the northwest.
Gotcha. Would you like to use your inspiration for advantage? You could always save yours for after a roll and use it a lot like Bardic Inspiration. But would you like to have advantage on this?
I think I'll. Yeah, I'll just give myself advantage. See what I get.
Gotcha. So roll 2d20. So a 12 plus your dexterity is
That's the 16, and then I'll put the bardic inspiration on that as well.
all right. You can roll a d8.
So 19.
You spend some time working on the lock, and you have a great amount of difficulty trying to open it. And a lot like that second chest, you don't find it impossible. But 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, 20, 30. Getting around to the end of the prestidigitation to like warm your clothing. And Machin eventually gets it. Like I said, like there's a lot of chances that you guys can try over and over again. It's pointless to necessarily make these like just for one check. But 19 is below the DC, so it takes a long time. But you do get in there. It's not like damaging the pix level. Um, so you eventually make it in. You do pop that chest open, and inside of this chest you see a large 8 foot long spear. And I believe this one is like almost like a blood red kind of crimson, not necessarily like a maroon, but like kind of like a almost like bright um hemoglobin red. And the whole shaft of this spear is made of like this red wood, and then the actual tip of it has this just dark lightless black metal tip to it, and it has like a few like kind of like spikes that almost like pierce backward as if the spear goes in, and then if you pull it out it cuts the flesh like on the way out as well. uh but yeah, there is a about 8 foot long spear inside of this chest.
well, all right, only two to go.
Yeah, get to it, and I'll take like. Yeah, I think I'll go for the just southern chest.
Gotcha. So just give me a dexterity check here.
Nat 1. Holy shit.
So you can gain inspiration here. You're gonna have about 30 or so minutes go by, and you do not like complete opening that chest. And you do break some of your thieves' tools. As far as things go, you can still make sufficient checks with those thieves' tools. But at present, I'm going to give them they're like a -1. So I think your dexterity allows you a certain chance at opening these without a problem. but you're effectively at a -1 with those thieves' tools right now. But let me get another check as you continue to try to open these. Would you like to do this at advantage?
Yeah, I mean, I got it, so might as well use it. For a total of 18. 18. Both rolled 14. Goddamn. Oh wait, that would
All
actually
right.
be 17, seeing as I got a -1.
Yeah, as I think about like what the -1 does in the time thing, it's it's going to be pretty rare that it actually like breaks one of the break points that I kind of have in mind, versus for other checks. But yeah, uh, this is going to be another one that starts to stretch like 30 or so minutes of effort here, to try to get it open, before you can unlock this one. And let's get another check for the final one. And then this one is, I think this is a skull shaped like rod. It almost has like a skull with like pierced through on a kind of club shaped object, and then like across the like skull like weaves like these like black little pillars of flame almost, that kind of like wind up around it, making like a mace of sorts. But this is a like skull that sits at the end of an otherwise mace.
And the second chest there, or the last chest, would be a 14 total roll.
14 on the last one.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think gonna have to put it at another level of breaking them. Um, and this is where I'm gonna say you can have like one more failed attempt, before your keys are gone entirely. So you've got this chest or the doors. Um, and your lockpicks are looking pretty mangled. So another failed attempt, and you might not have lockpicks.
I wish I could give you some words of encouragement, but it'd just be coming from my mouth. No magic left, buddy. Sorry.
Technically, a full hour would have gone by. Dalton and Jinx could have short rested. You guys could have gained your bardic inspiration back from short rest, I think.
Okay, I didn't want to abuse it, so yeah, I'll give him another bardic inspiration then.
Yeah, Dalton's kind of just he's just kind of sitting where he is, looking tired. But if we could have gotten the short rest in, he'll take advantage of that. And, I can give him the next one if he needs another Jinx.
So if it's okay during the short rest, I'll like tell the story that I told earlier, and that'll be like my song of rest for anybody that use a hit dice.
Well, technically, Malchin wouldn't be using a short rest here. I'm not sure if he has any reason to, but right now, at least, it's Dalton and Jinx who can short rest.
All right, so I'll get back 11.
And the Song of Rest is a D6, right?
Yes, D6.
All right, so Dalton still looks pretty tired, but definitely more hale than he was before.
All right, then I'll go back to trying to pick the last chest. And I got inspiration from Jinx, right?
Yeah,
And I
Bardic
believe you
Inspiration
have,
D8.
and I believe you have normal. Oh wait, no, you use that one. My bad. With a 16, I think you're at 20. Would you like to use your bardic inspiration?
With the 16, I'm actually only at 18 thanks to the negative
Oh yeah,
2.
yeah. My bad. That would be 18.
So yeah, I'm using the bardic inspiration just to make sure. So that would be 24.
So
18 plus.
in a similar way, you start to fiddle around with the pick. You find the first two, and it's almost like you're now like messing with these magical locks. You basically recognize there's almost like a musical kind of like characteristic to like the notes that key the like picking of the lock. Like each pin almost descends in like a value of G, A, B. Damn, I said that wrong. G, D, F, A, B, E. I don't remember. It's really bad. But you can actually start to like key into this, like noticing that like everyone is almost incrementally valued. And like three of these now, you've actually picked the lock in a few moments time. Um, versus the ones that have taken quite some time versus the ones that you guys have seemingly just wasted time and damaged the picks on. But this is another one that it takes much in about a minute to get after being inspired by Jinx here. And you can unlock this last of the chests now. And this one simply just holds a skull and it has magical writing all over it, almost as if somebody were tattooed like all over their face. This is just a skull with horrific different symbols and whatnot on it. None of them being in any particular like language, so much as you start to notice from what you've like looked at in the actual book of shit, what is it? The Book of Faceless Hate, where you start to see some of the symbols associated with different chaos cults. This skull has those symbols covering it. So it's almost like a universal like symbol of hate.
Holy shit, that's the skull of Raul. I'll like lean down and pick it up and start to like examine it.
So at this point, you all have opened the 6 cases. Who has which objects? Have you taken them all? Are there any that you all have not touched that you've left behind? What are you guys thinking? Is it time to open the door?
So Dalton he's holding the key right now and the long sword from the, I guess, second chest, starting from the top right. And
And you had the long sword since prior to short resting, correct?
yes.
During your rest, you will feel the magic kind of coursing through you between you and the sword. You can sense that this is a damn, I don't know if the name specifically is kind of what comes to mind. So, Antarctic Longsword is what this is. I'm not sure if it'll really come to mind like in that sense. But effectively what an Antarctic weapon is that it's a +1 weapon against um creatures of order. Um so my bad. I guess I didn't put it into my notes. I have to look it up in the Tollus book real quick. But I think it's like celestial um like, damn it, can't think of the three species, but it's like the like opposite of demons kind of thing. And then I think it also does extra damage to them. But one of the things to keep in mind is it is a magical weapon regardless. It deals magical damage. It just doesn't necessarily have extra magical effects, except for when you're fighting creatures of order. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. So kind of, I mean, not obviously not the same exactly as, but like the old D&D alignment system, it would be like similar to like lawful creatures.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's part of where it like comes over from. This was a 4E system. Um, that Money Cook is like translating. And I think that's part of why the Antarctic sword just kind of like lived through it, was to recognize that you're, I don't know, kind of have that thing kind of preserved from it.
Yeah.
But
And
I think in the long run, it's like a +1 weapon, and then I think it does better damage when it crits as well. But
yeah, I mean, it makes sense where these are, tools of chaos cult. So not not real surprising that it would have something like that.
and you rested with the key on you as well, right?
Yes, I did not put it down.
So you would also gain kind of the insight of the key that there is a physical exhaustive cost to the use of the key. Um but kind of like curses, I'm not going to tell you what it is. You already know two senses of what this thing is, though. It's exhausting to hold it, and then that there's a further cost to using it. But I'm not going to tell you what the cost is at present. But you can sense that because you took the rest with it. What is, and that's all you're holding of these, right? What
Yep.
are Jinx or Malchin holding?
I think Malshin would take the spear, the long spear.
And I guess I would take the skull, like I said, more just to look at it, but that's fine. I'll be holding that for now. And I think I would recommend maybe that either one of them, uh, probably Malchin, takes the dual blades also.
They are great swords, though. Those are two-handed weapons.
Oh, it's two swords that you can't carry in one hand each.
Indeed, they are the biggest of the swords.
Okay, so it's a two-handed sword, not the kind that you could like use and it's weaker in one hand. It's like straight up two hands.
Yeah, the long sword is the one that you can use one-handed or two-handed.
Okay, okay. So I guess it doesn't matter. Um, if Malcolm wants to carry them both, or Dalton does, or if we want to split them up and like couple carry one each.
I think Malshin could like just carry him. Two big swords, like I just thinking like logistically, how would I carry them?
Almost have to like affix them to your back somehow, like cross. I don't know how long they are though. They would like almost drag across the ground even.
They're approximately like 6.5 feet long.
Damn, they're taller than me. Actually bigger than Malshin.
I don't think that's quite unheard of for great swords.
Yeah, a lot of times you'd almost like your second hand would be on like rather than on the hilt, it would be like almost halfway up the blade, and that you would like swing it like that. I'm thinking of those like the swords from the Monty Python Black Knight scene. Like those were huge swords too. I'm almost thinking like that kind of size.
Also, with Warcaster, would I be able to carry something in two hands, basically, and then still be able to cast spells and everything normally?
I think Warcaster allows you to do that with a shield. I don't believe it allows you to do it with a weapon. So one of the problems is you still need a spell focus in hand. So I would say a bard is likely not a candidate for a two-handed weapon.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like fight. I mean to like carry it, like not to use it, like to just like bring it with us.
Oh, I mean, carrying it like that's effectively you guys have like straps on your backpack type of things. It may be clunky. It doesn't mean that you can't do it.
Okay, yeah, it says you can perform the somatic components of spells even when you have weapons or shield in one or both hands.
Like I said, if Malchin's got the spear, which is also a big weapon, then at least in terms of carrying it, probably Jinx or Dalton could carry the swords.
All right, so we're gonna go Dalton with the key with the anarchist longsword, and then you'll take one of the great swords.
Does that sound good to you guys? Obviously, just carrying it is not a weapon that Dalton can use. So
Yeah, sounds good to me.
And who has the skull like on the rod?
I'll just take that then. So you guys each have one of the big swords, and then you have the spear and the other sword. So that just leaves what, a skull and the rod. I can just carry those two. Oh, and you have the
Right
key.
now, I have the two bards with the great swords.
yeah, because Malchin's got the spear, so he's got to carry that. So I was thinking, yeah, Jinx and Dalton take one of the great swords each to carry for now. And then Dalton's also got the long sword plus his rapier, so maybe like Jinx could put the mace through his belt.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I was literally just saying I would help carry stuff just like physically. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, this is just how we're carrying the stuff. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's the final disposition of who takes what.
All right, so Dalton has the key, the long sword, and one of the great swords. Malchin has the spear. Jinx has the skull, the rod, and then one of the great swords. And I believe that is all 6 items accounted for.
Yep, that sounds right to me. And Dalton will obviously just like warn the other two that beyond the effect that he's already feeling, he has a sense that there may be some additional effects from actually using it, the key.
All
What's
right.
the next move? Oh, my bad, Malchin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask it. Dalton, I think there's a cost for using the key. Do you want me to do it, or do I still want to keep it?
I think we need to keep you in. Still need to get out of here, so I think we need to keep you in fighting shape if we can. If we want to try and get this door open, I'm willing to be the guinea pig, so to speak. Just stand by with that staff, if you wouldn't mind, Jinx. Unless you think you can get these doors open with what you got left there, and he'll gesture to the kind of not rough-looking thieves' tools at this point.
Yeah, to be honest, I think the key is our best bet at this point.
I suppose the other question is, we don't know what's behind here, but assuming it's got to be pretty big given the size of this door. Is it something you think we're going to even be able to get it out of here? Though I am certainly curious about what it could be.
Oh wait, you think there's like another like item or a monster or something on the other side of this door? I was kind of just picturing it be like a grandiose stairway that leads us the hell out of this place.
Well, the writing on it makes me think it's another weapon. Or some sort of contraption.
Of course it is. I'm sure we'll probably never leave this place, but hey, judging by the loot, we've gotten further than anybody else has, so we're gonna do it. Let's do it, I guess, right?
All right, well, here goes, and he'll kind of like slowly get back to his feet, kind of very moving, almost like he's kind of like walking through molasses. He will take the key, look at it, take kind of a deep breath, and then he will try to
As you look
use.
at the key, you see that the key is like constantly shifting. All of those different little teeth of the three prongs are like extending and shortening. Like it's generally holding the same shape, but you can see that they're all like kind of extending and shortening. And as you take that like final look at it and you're like approaching this door, you see that it's already starting to mold into another form and starting to hold a position like as you're approaching this lock. It's taking the form of the lock. My bad. I was just wanted to interrupt as you approach that moment.
Oh no, yeah, definitely something worth keeping in mind. I was thinking like, well, this probably wouldn't come to him in the moment, so yeah, Dalton will, but otherwise, he'll look back to the others too, and all right, here goes, and he will
As you're like reaching forward about to do it, sorry, I was like trying to interrupt but not interrupt. I'm just gonna say, don't fuck this up, Dalton, and I'm gonna give him bardic inspiration.
So you can inspiringly open the door if you are ready to put in the key and try the locking mechanism.
Yeah, Dalton will take some inspiration from Jinx, and then another deep breath, and then door, put the key into the lock, and here goes nothing.
As you turn the lock with absolutely no difficulty as far as the locking mechanism goes, you feel even more and more sluggish, lethargic, exhausted, aged beyond your years. Dalton, I need you to gain 3 levels of exhaustion. Your speed is now halved. Your hit point maximum is now halved. And you now have disadvantage on all attack, saving throws, and ability checks. Are you currently over half hit points before you unlock this door? Because if you're still under half, if you were at bloodied when you turn this key, technically you would fall over unconscious at 0 hit points.
No, thankfully I used some of the short rest to regain, so I'm not below half.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. So whatever the person with the lowest hit points for the day was, you are now at half of that. As you suffer 3 levels of exhaustion by using Neverin's All Key. And now Dalton has a solid understanding of the true cost of using this key.
Yeah, when he said like age beyond your years, I thought I was gonna like magically age, but this is
No, as soon as I said that, I was trying to like reference like how like old and tiring you feel, but as soon as I said it, I was like, wait, there's actually magic that does that. That is the wrong idea to give off.
well, because I remember in our Phandalin campaign, and I think Chris, yeah, I think this is the one with Chris too, where yeah, that happened to I don't know if it was Justin or another character, but
Oh, it's one of my favorite things about ghosts is like there's a lot of creatures that failing a save is bad, but failing it by too much is really bad. And that's one of those things where it's just like, oh, you failed by over 5? But I feel like I also rolled incredibly low for that, and then Justin was a pretty young fellow, anyways. So I could have like aged you into death, but you like aged like 5 or 10 years. And I think I hit Malchin, one of Chris's characters with it as well, and it was the same thing. He's like a gnome who lives for hundreds of years, and I got him for like 30.
Oh
Oh,
right,
that was
yeah,
willingly with the hag. You
yeah,
gave me 30 years of your life.
oh
yeah. With
yeah,
Aaron, I think it was.
but yeah, you'll definitely see that opening the door takes a whole lot out of Dalton. Um,
So as you do open this door, and this is where I didn't actually think I should have made these maps together and then cut them apart, because I have the next half kind of set up as its own little battle mat, um, but it's also like on the main maps here as well. So in front of you, there's going to be my bad. In front of you, as you open this, the doors just kind of like crack open, and you'll start to like shed like a little bit of light in, but like Dalton is too weak to open these doors. As like he turns the key, and like that key basically like cracks the doors. But like immediately you guys see as he's like drooping and almost like depending on the doors to like maintain his own ability to stand up at present. um and things only get worse by gaining more exhaustion from here. This is one of those things where exhaustion is incredibly dangerous. It is one of the only things in 5e that can actually kill characters very effectively. So this is definitely a be weary moment as you basically see Dalton almost go like this is kind of like one of those like catatonic levels of he just becomes useless. But as you crack this door, you see a big corridor ahead of you. There is like a stale, stagnant, cold gust as there's almost like a negative pressure like into this room, as the like negative pressure, I said that wrong, like positive kind of like pressure coming out of this room. As you like open it, you just feel like air that hasn't been moved for years and years and years. And you can kind of like immediately see like the little cracks of light that shine through the crack in this door. The chasm like extends up and beyond that light ahead of you, and it kind of extends out and beyond the light ahead. Um, you guys can make out that there is some sort of like larger structure in the back of this room, probably about 30 or so feet away from you. But Mouchin with dark vision, I would like you to make a nature check for me.
That is a 3 total.
Gotcha. So yeah, pretty much everybody just sees this large kind of like statue that seems to like linger in the room. And you just pretty much can start to make out that it's almost like a bunch of like plants that seem to be kind of like planted in the back wall of this room. And you can kind of see like signs that they're just like big kind of structures. They stand almost like the 30 foot or so to the or 15 or so feet to the ceiling. But you very quickly notice like these aren't like some sort of like weird like potted plants. This isn't some sort of statue, because you immediately start to hear noise from the other side of this room, as there's almost like a grinding of metal, as there's just like and you start to see that there's 5, 6 or so different objects and large like appendages that are all kind of moving in odd little undulations. uh I would like you all. Ooh. Yeah, I think let me go for who has the best initiative from you. It is very clearly not going to be Dalton winning some initiative here. So either Jinx or Malchin. And I have you roll initiative.
I have a +4. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're the same, buddy. So you can go ahead and do it. And if you didn't use the, oh wait, who did I inspire?
You did indeed inspire Malchin. Oh, wait, no.
No, I switched it, didn't I?
You inspired Dalton.
Yep, Dalton's got the bardic inspiration right now.
So that would be 17.
I do like that little pop up and then the roll, and then it like zooms in. It gives like the dramatic effect. That's cool.
Why can't I ever win an initiative? All right, so you guys have the first sense of what you're seeing ahead of you, and it is vague and it is perhaps curious to you. But you guys are going to win initiative. So whatever is coming to has like roared, has like squeaked and screeched and ground itself into life, is on the other side of this room. The door at present is cracked. You're not yet fully shedding light into this room to have a good sense of what is in front of you. You guys can act first. Again, as a party, as a group, you can act. You can take some time to discuss how you'd like to act. You can just start to act, but what are you all doing?
Okay, so I'll get into position to open the door further and shed some light on what's going on. And then I'm also going to present the idea to Dalton. I'm assuming he looks terrible, but not like bloodied, right? Because his hit points was decreased, but so was his maximum.
How many hit points have you lost, even as you were halved?
So I'm actually at full health after I was close to full before, and now with the halving, I'm at full health, but obviously that's not a lot.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like that sounds legit. Um,
I mean, I know I could take off. I think I was missing 3 hit points, so I could take those off. In which case, I would be mortally wounded.
Yeah, I think it would make better sense to say Dalton does look mortally wounded, but take off the minimum number of hit points that would put you there. So if it is all 3 would put you mortally wounded, take those off. If it's 2 or 1, take that off. But I think that's more important, that you are mortally wounded as you use Nevrin's All Key.
Yep. Okay.
Maybe it's time for you to give up that key, buddy. I don't think it's a good idea you carrying that thing and ends up getting you killed.
So you're basically opening the door to shed light into this room, and then also like basically asking him for the key.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And I want to do this potentially, like assuming he's like pretty lethargic and pretty effed up. I want to like try to like usher him away from danger. Like, hey, don't get one shotted.
Gotcha. You're definitely gonna have that like limited because these are all things that I would kind of say are roughly like free actions. It's a free action to open the door. It's a free action to like item manipulation. So you could open the door with a free action. You can hold out your hand without doing anything and let Dalton hand you the key. But like moving him to safety would get to a point of you're looking at an action here. Versus just allowing him to make a decision. That's on him.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm not trying to take away his agency or anything. I just mean like I'm gonna kind of
Yeah.
just be like, all right, little guy, like let's
No.
get you away from here.
Regardless of how your turns go down, I think it's sufficient to say the first thing that is happening is that Jinx is acting. And as he basically opens up the door, and usually you put light on your, what is it, a boomerang? What do you usually light up? A shield?
Oh, well, normally it would be the head of the staff, but I'm carrying this sword right
Oh,
now.
oh,
So
yeah, but you can actually use the staff, like the sword. You don't even have proficiency with. But that's what you have in hand, though, is that sword.
yeah, I have the sword in hand.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So when you like open the door a little bit and like poke in this like 6 foot long sword, you are very quickly going to see that whatever this once statue seems to be, it is now a large like mass of like metallic, like central body, and from it extends in different portions and in different parts 6 different heads, each of them of a reptilian form, and they are all undulating as if they were their own snakes. But there is before you a 6-headed hydra made out of a untarnished steel.
Yeah, so Dalton he had the same idea as Jinx in terms of trying to back away, but I think he's gonna, seeing kind of Jinx, asking for the key. Dalton's thought when I was just carrying it, maybe like we saw that, the effect seemed to fade when Malchin handed it off, but Dalton's thinking now that I've used it, it may be too late for that. Um, so I think Dalton's going to almost using the great sword that he's now carrying like a crutch, kind of, is going to try to back away slowly, then much more slowly than he normally moves. um, yeah, he's not sure. I mean, he's not sure what if this thing is going to attack or if it was created, as essentially as a weapon. Um, so I think he's uncertain. His head is foggy from the um, the effects of using the key. So I think he's just going to essentially try and take the dodge action here, and he's going to have to rely on Malchin and Jinx for now.
So Dalton steps away with key. Jinx, Chris, or Malchin, how are you two reacting?
I think Malshon will like go up and he's gonna pull out his bow. Feel like I don't want to get too close right now. And I'm gonna try, not sure how much this works, but gonna put ensnaring strike as a bonus action and then shoot it with my bow.
Is it possible, since this is happening all at the same time, Well, it probably doesn't matter, but I'm planning on doing Bane also. So if you're gonna like try to do magical stuff on it, it would make sense for me to Bane it first.
That is precisely why I want you guys to actually discuss things more than necessarily just act. So, yeah, I would say cast your Bane, see if this thing gets baned, and then you can see if it gets ensnared. I want you guys to take advantage of making yourselves into a combination.
Yeah, that's why I said it.
No, I'm saying it for everyone though, is I want to make sure that you guys know, like, I don't want you to feel like something is meta. I want you guys to do these things. That is the whole point of trying out this style. And I want to reassure you that this is what I want you to do. So your DC with the Bane is a Wisdom 15.
It is Wisdom 15. Oh no, it's
Bane
Charisma 15.
Charisma, where that's not going to change it. Is Bane a charmed effect?
It says up to 3 creatures of your choice you can see within range must make Charisma saving throws. Whenever the target that fails the saving throw makes an attack roll or saving throw before the spell ends. Target must roll a d4 and subtract the number from the rolled attack or saving throw. But it doesn't say. It just says casting time 1 action, 30 feet, DSM.
I would say that doesn't seem to be one of the weird little charms. So yeah, when you cast this, you can kind of feel like and let's say that you like try to bane like 3 different heads. When you actually start to like manipulate this thing, you do sense that this is a singular creature, and kind of get closer and closer to recognizing, what this Hydra thing is. What is your DC on ensnaring strike, and does it have to hit first? Have you rolled your attacks with Malchin?
It has to hit first, so the first strike is an 11 to hit.
There is no way an 11's gonna hit. That just kind of like flies past and just hits the wall behind this thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try for the second then. That's much better. That's 20. See,
20
21 to hit,
plus does hit.
and that's for 10 damage, and then it's a DC 13 strength save.
You see as like the vines come up, and like every moment the vines try to attach to him, to this thing, it's just disintegrating. The like constant in undulations and like movement of this thing, the way the metal of its body like kind of like moves over itself, it's almost like closing and opening scissors, like just constantly cutting the vines away from this thing. It just disintegrates them every moment they try to touch it. There is no effect. Oh, it even would have advantage on this too, because it is a huge creature.
Oh yeah, it would have.
And I don't know if you have any movement left, but I would definitely recommend Dalton. Maybe you should get out the doorway just in case, there, buddy.
So my speed is halved. I was up at the door, so I think the best I could do is like maybe to there. He is moving much more slowly than normal. Like I said, essentially kind of using the great sword as a crutch or like a cane.
Did you make your second attack as well there, Malchin? That was just the first one was for 10 damage. Do you have a second strike from the bow?
Oh no, that was the second. The first one missed.
Oh yeah, my bad. The first one missed with the 11 there. So you guys are all going to hear this loud, like crushing sound as this thing moves across this room to make it to this doorway. And as it like slams into the doorway with the mass of its body, the earth around you is going to shake and crumble, and you're going to start to have like ice kind of shattering from all around this room and falling all around you as the creature slams into the door with the mass of its body, and you start to see as it squeezes different portions through, as one head kind of takes this position and then it like flexes out and crashes away some more of the ice, and it's already like dehinging the door from this entryway as it forces itself through the entry, and it is basically breaking open these double doors to gain sight on you all. And I think it has 2 attacks on each of you. My bad, it has 5 heads. So one of you is going to get a single attack. That is not the right die. Breeze Dalton on my board. So the first 2 attacks are going to go against Jinx, the second 2 against Malchin, and the final attack will be against Dalton. It is going to try to bite each of you with one of its heads. And got the first 2 here on Jinx. 13 is the low attack there, and 16 is the high. I think the 16 will hit you, Jinx.
Yeah, I'm 14 armor. Yeah, would you say 14 or 13 and 16?
Yeah, it's a +8 bonus. So it is going to deal 8 damage as one of the heads bites into you. And the other one just kind of getting caught up on the door as it like strikes out. It just like strikes into the stone and ice, and more of the ceiling kind of like breaks down around it.
I have a quick question. Did we put our armor back on, or are we still essentially unarmored?
You guys can have the armor at this point because you took ages in that room, kind of like picking stuff apart.
Okay, thanks.
That's no bueno. The low number is a 19. Does a 19 hit you, Malchin?
Yeah, it does.
And that crit's gonna deal 15 plus a d10. So we got 20 plus 2d10 to Malchin right here. It's gonna do 34 damage as it bites into you. I should actually clarify because of the damage tables. The first one, oh damn, I didn't pay attention to which was the crit. My bad. Did anybody have my dice broken down that you saw which was the crit? Was it first or second die?
I
Because
didn't catch which one it was. Sorry.
otherwise I'm just gonna roll like an even will be first, or even will be second die. Odd is odd, so first. So the first hit is for 20. How many hit points do you have right now, Malchin? And then
Oh
it says
shit!
before
Hey,
you.
I'm sorry. Did you roll Bane for those attacks too?
Well, the crit's automatically gonna hit. What's your AC, Malchin?
It's 17.
Gotcha. So if I roll a 5 would be a 1 on a d8. Yeah, so it's a -1. That would still hit.
And can you roll it for mine too? Because if you roll a 3 or more, I think it would have missed me completely.
4 would be a miss. My bad. I stopped using d4s, so I gotta do math on d8s too. I hate d4s. I want to get barrel d4s so bad. So So yeah, Malchin, what is your maximum hit points before you take any damage here?
30. Oh,
30?
my current
Yeah.
is
So this will be one of those big hits because it is over half your hits. A D10 on a 10. You do not have reactions. Oh, that's the best possible result. But you said 30. The second hit is going to be for 14. So you're taking a total of 34. Does that put you at 0 hit points?
Yeah, I am down.
I'm sorry, dude. I would have like affected that, but didn't know he was gonna crit one, and I'm saving my reaction to make sure Dalton doesn't die, or hopefully.
Yeah, no worries.
And then this attack will be on Dalton.
And it hopefully has disadvantage because I'm dodging.
Gotcha. Forgot about the dodge as well. So 5, probably not going to need it, but an 8, so 13.
Oh wait, with the armor back on, that will miss.
Gotcha. Yep. So yeah, as they strike out, like 3 of the heads are able to like make it through the door as they strike. 2 into Malchin, one of them like snaps onto his neck, and Malchin goes unconscious, like as they bite into him. And then one bites into Jinx, and the other one or the other 2 are like stuffing themselves on the doors as they go for Jinx and Dalton. It is going to return to you guys at the start of your turn. Malchin can roll his death save, see where he's at. See a 20?
Oh no.
Not a 20. You can gain inspiration though. And Malchin has 2 failed death saves.
I think we
So
need to consider fleeing. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know. Oh, well, no. I mean, it's mechanical, but do we know anything about hydras? Essentially, like, are they water, comfortable in water kind of thing?
make a nature check. This creature is huge. It is going to find it difficult to make it through a 10-foot diameter space. That's going to be difficult. Hydras, this one is made out of metal, but hydras tend to be water creatures. As far as things go, hydras are swimming creatures.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we know it's forcing its way through this doorway, so it probably, given enough time, it could maybe get through the water or bring the watery passage crashing down on us. But Dalton is kind of looking towards Jinx, and we need to get the hell out of here, seeing Malchin's down, and Dalton's not going to be able to do too much.
Damn. I don't think I ever gave Jinx a chance to use his action last turn.
No, I used my action. I did Bane.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, one of us should heal Malchin. So maybe, if you want, I can do that, Jinx, because, well, I don't know if you have something planned, but I'm not going to be too much use in a fight. So I feel like maybe my action is better spent getting Malchin back up and then trying to get into the water.
I got concentration up right now, so I couldn't cast anything decent if I had it. But I don't suppose you could heat metal a big ass creature, can you?
That's a good question because Mara, technically it says an object, and um,
This is a creature.
So no, if it's sentient, yeah.
I believe creatures become objects when they are unconscious, but otherwise, I don't believe a creature counts as an object.
yeah, that's my understanding as well. So yeah, rules as written, it wouldn't be able to affect it.
You don't got anything fancy up your sleeve, do you?
I mean, the only other thing I could try would be something like the only other real thing I have is Cloud of Daggers, or I could try to give us try to buy us at least a few seconds is try to get it to flee back towards the back of the cavern with the dissonant whispers, which you've seen me cast before. But I don't. I think we need to get the hell out of here. We have what we came for. This thing is gonna. I mean, the thing is, we're not going to last more than a round or two against this thing. I don't think, given the number of attacks it has, and Dalton is, one of these attacks could. The thing that just knocked Mountain unconscious, that would kill Dalton just outright at this point.
Yeah, I think you should Dissonant Whispers it, and then I can heal Malchin, and like we can get out of here. The other, I don't know how many like reactions it's going to be. I'm not trying to be like super meta, but with all those heads, like I have a feeling it's going to strike out at us when we leave its range, and I have a feeling you're probably still in its range right now. So for you,
He did
I
get
think
bit by it.
yeah,
You
so
have a
for you,
solid sense that each head is able to attack and potentially has its own reaction.
So I think for you, Dalton, your choice is either disengage and leave, or try to Dissonant Whispers it and then leave. So
Yeah.
obviously, I think Dissonant Whispers is the way to go, but it's up to you. It's your spell.
Well, because even if I disengage, because you're not going to be able to, because you got to heal Malton. I think I got to try it. Yeah. At least buys us a few seconds to hopefully try to get moving. I think I'm going to have to move anyway, regardless of whether it works. But can I use my inspiration to give it disadvantage on the saving throw?
I was gonna ask you, and I'm so happy that you asked. You 100% can.
All right, so that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cast Dissonant Whispers on this metallic Hydra.
And you've got a Wisdom 15 on that one.
Yes.
Sadly for your inspiration, I rolled very low with each of them. But as you kind of start to like turn to it, and with your old man voice, what are you saying to it? Do you have anything in mind?
I think it's just going to maybe trying to use the something along the lines of what was written on the door. He'll just
Almost like condemning it as like someone like this late hero's creation, that it's doomed to reside here, and you just kind of like turn its own inscription on itself.
yeah, something like that. I don't have the skill to come up with something cool on but he would try to say something like that.
Gotcha. So you kind of turn to it. Oh shit, higher level too. 20 damage.
Yeah, I did cast that at uh oh wait, why is it no 3d6, and then I casted it, oh yeah,
One
third
for each
level,
level.
so yep, so total of 5d6, yeah, and that's
Gotcha.
psychic damage if it makes a difference.
Gotcha. Oh my god, he's a psychic. Oh.
Yeah, I was just thinking constructs might be immune to that, but I think it still moves, even if it's immune to the damage.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be fleeting. Yeah. So as you kind of like turn to it and almost like condemn it to this place, you will see probably goes up towards the actual like back corner as it flees away from you guys. Um and Dalton, as you leap into the water, you guys don't have swimming speeds. So your speed is halved. So your 15 feet of movement becomes 5 feet of swimming, Dalton.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's 5 feet to get into the water, which would leave him with essentially he could move 5 more feet. Or is it maybe just getting into the water and that's essentially his entire movement for the turn?
I'll give you with the first turn that you can basically make it a total of 10 feet. But yeah, like there's definitely a vague difference of how that works. So 5 feet like on top of the water, 5 feet under it, but I'll give you effectively where you are on the vertical map there.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's his. Um, yeah, that's basically all he can do there. Yeah, that's his turn.
Um Jinx, did I make you do a con save when you got hit there?
Oh, it actually missed me with both heads because of Bane. Remember?
Okay, we got it. Okay, cool. Are you healing Mountain?
No, I'm just gonna leave him for dead and jump in the water. Of course, I'm gonna heal him.
Good strategy. Yeah, I mean, you'll get out for sure if you leave Mountain behind.
Yeah. You just have to be like not the slowest person when the Hydra's following you.
Yeah, you just have to outswing Dalton, which is not going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. You'll be remembered. I'll tell stories of you.
So yeah, you can apply that healing for him and then take your movement.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just figuring out what is the way I can heal him the most. I'm either going to upcast, I think, is the way to go. So it says I can cast Cure Wounds at level 1 to 4. But I think actually I'm just going to use my other spell is better.
My bad. I moved everything to the original map because this is where it excels. So like the individual battle maps were cool if you were going to fight on either of them. But the contiguous map excels at actually trying to get away from this thing.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's the same. So yeah, I'm going to heal Malchin back to consciousness and then just let him know, like, we got to get the hell out of here. That thing's coming after us. And Dalton is in bad shape, obviously, too.
We's got to go. So, Mountain, you are on the ground. Your bow is at your side, out of your hand. It is half your movement speed to stand up. You're pretty much in a pretty similar situation where you can kind of get to the water. And Jinx, you can probably get just in front of Dalton as you like dive in and swim across.
Let's see. How much healing did I get again?
So it's going to be 4d8 plus 4. Hey, not bad either. So 29 total.
Oh hell, I'm It's almost up to full. That's not bad.
Anything else from you, Malchin? Do you want to try to dodge? Do you want to like unleash a couple of shots with your bow? Do you want to try to close the door and like bar it somehow? Do you guys have thoughts on how you're fleeing? And Malchin is the only one with an action right.
Honestly, I think I'm. What I should do?
Yeah, I mean, if we're fleeing, you could dash to get into the water. I don't know. You could try to bar the door, but I feel like now that it's unlocked, I'm not sure if how effective that'll be.
You guys have already seen this thing is breaking apart like the cavern as it slams into the door sill.
Yeah, so I'm thinking just get as far away as quickly as possible.
Oh, I don't want to get too much ahead of you. I think I'm just gonna take pot shots at it as a run. Just shoot 2 arrows. Like pick up the bow, shoot 2 arrows, and jump in.
You would have your bonus action as well if you wanted to try another ensnaring strike. You are welcome to. But yeah, you can take those shots. Not sure if you have a better bonus action. You could do like Hunter's Mark, I think.
Actually, I think I'm just gonna put magic weapon on my bow. Give myself a +1 on rolls and damage.
Excellent. It is currently missing hit points,
And I crit
so
it.
you can apply your D8. You do have your crit there. So what is it? I think it's going to do 16 plus normal damage.
Yeah, so that's what is it? 5 plus 1.
Oh wait, those were the damage dice. Those 2 1s.
I know
So it's 18, 23.
The first one was the proficiency die, but yeah.
Okay. Roll a D8 then. That's probably all you were missing. And it's a 22 plus that D8. And then after that one, excellent. So 30 more damage from a solid hit that like goes into one of the snake's heads, and you are going to see as one of the heads actually like almost like falls down like inanimate as it is pierced through. And then the second attack.
Yeah, that's 23, 27 to hit for 6 damage.
Excellent.
Oh, and no, I can't use that because that's concentrating. Yeah, no, then never mind.
So again, it like rumbles across this space and it like slams into the door sill and the roof and the ceiling of this place, and ice and stone start to crumble all around you guys. Um, Dalton was closer than where Malchin is. Yeah, I think that is at its 10-foot range. So it like strikes out at Malchin and it's just short of being able to snap into him as it tries to bite out from this position. And as its turn ends, you're going to see as where the dead head is like sliding behind this body and the metal is like grinding against the ice as it basically like snaps out at Malchin. That head like splits into two, and down the metallic of the neck, like all of that shielding kind of splits, doing like a cell mitosis where they split and make duplicates of themselves. This Hydra now has 6 undulating heads that are reaching out, trying to snap at you all, and it is going once again to the party to decide. What would you like to do?
Uh, assuming we're still set on fleeing.
I don't know if we're gonna outrun this thing, and if we go any further, we're gonna be underwater.
I think technically I have Dalton and Jinx already underwater. Malchin would be the questionable one, how whether he's under or not.
Yeah, Dalton's already in. I thought the idea was it's we're hoping it's too big to be able to follow us through this passage. I mean, Dalton didn't see it grow its other head, but assuming if Malchin like yelled that to us, and I've got really nothing I can use against it. So, and I guess I don't know. Could we tell that, or could Dalton tell that even though it fled, like the actual damage of his spell didn't seem to affect it at all?
There's no reason for you to have a sense of how effective that damage was or was not. The spell was effective against the creature, but that's kind of all you really know.
Okay.
But my apologies for putting it like as a question. Like, I don't think you guys should be rechecking your decision to flee. Once you dove into the water, I think everybody should already have that same thought. Like, you're in the water, you should be fleeing.
Yeah, I mean that's all Dalton's thinking of. I just wanted to. I mean, I realize you want to. Be great if we could kill it, but I don't think we're going to survive if we stand and fight this thing. Just like
I mean, obviously, it's up to you what you want to do, but I think you should dash. Like, can you dash underwater? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, that's what my thought was. Yeah, I think if I dash, if I'm doing the math right, I'll have essentially I can move 3 spaces.
Yep, you should be able to get 15 feet once you dash.
Yeah, so that's what Dalton's doing. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think I can even Bardic inspire anybody because I assume that takes some verbal. I can't really speak underwater, so
That's one of those weird things where I can kind of sit with where Jeremy Crawford says, like, magic isn't necessarily about like what it sounds like, so much as that you are saying the words. So even if you're like filled with water as you're speaking, just because you're underwater isn't like there's a massive dispel magic. It's thicker air for a lot of purposes. So I'm not somebody who wants to cancel magic just because you're underwater.
okay. I just because Bardic inspiration requires that the other creature be able to hear me.
I would say that is a viable reason to say that it does sound different. So yeah, I would say no inspiration. My apologies there.
Yeah, no, but yeah, because I think we've talked about like you can still theoretically cast magic underwater. But yeah, I feel like something like Bardic inspiration, like your words are inspiring, so they can't hear what I'm saying. Yeah. So yeah, that's all Dalton can do there. He's just swimming as fast as he can.
How do we figure out our swim speed?
It's a half of your movement.
It's essentially like difficult terrain.
Oh, my bad. Actually, let me have a constitution check from everybody as you jump into the water.
17, even with disadvantage.
Gotcha. Over 10, just take a damage. It's going to be if you roll under 10. Then I'll have you roll a d4. But I think everybody's just take 1 damage from the cold.
Okay, so I have to take a con. I pass my con check, but I have to take a spell concentration.
Yeah, I think that's and you would have advantage on that still. I know it's not like against the spell, but as far as things go, this shouldn't be difficult. Yeah. One thing I didn't like about Rhyme the Frostman. I think the cold should mean something. I don't want it to be super effective, but I want it to be something.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because it's basically like if you roll poorly, your spell goes away. But I mean, it makes sense to me. And as I like swim up on Dalton right here, I'm gonna try to like grab his shoulder if he will let me, and I'm going to use my action to like dash drag him if I can.
So for right now, you can do like the grabbing of him to like be able to assist him, but it's essentially your action like is to grab him right now. Next turn it will be more effective to have hands on Dalton, but this turn the two of you are going to basically remain still. But in the long run, when you're grappling somebody and moving with them, your distance halves, so you can only add 5 feet to his distance once you're doing it. So it's going to be kind of negligible because effectively by grappling him, you're moving at the same speed he is. You know what I mean?
Oh, because my 30 would be 15, and then my 15, well, it would be 10 or 5.
Well, it falls down to 5 because it's 7.5. That's why dashing makes his 15. I think right now, for what it's worth, he's better off dashing in this situation than having somebody else moving at his speed. So what I would say is consider the fact that if you guys get up there, you still need to get that rope in position for them to get out. You guys shouldn't be waiting for Dalton. If Dalton survives, great. But you guys need to prepare the way for Dalton if he is going to survive. Right now, you guys do not have a rope leading out of the compartment you are going into. Jinx, you need to get to that compartment because you're the person who's going to climb it.
Okay, I got you. So can I just use my regular move and dash then right now?
That is perfectly fine. So you can go another 15. That'll basically, I think, get you right up to the water's edge at the other side.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that then.
Yeah, I think Dalton would be like waving him on. Yeah.
Malchin, you have seen that your attacks not only seem relatively ineffectual, you killed a head and that head came back as 2 heads. What would you like to do?
Yeah, I think I'm on the choice of just running away, just dashing and swimming as fast as I can.
Gotcha. So by dashing, you can basically move your normal 30 feet.
So I can get like there.
Gotcha. So yeah, we put you guys kind of across most of this way here. Jinx, you are going to come up and see that there is a thin layer of ice on the opposite side here. I'm tempted to say that you break through regardless, but I want you to do a strength check. If you get below a certain number, I'm going to have it cost you a free action to break through the ice. If you get above a certain, or wait, if you get below a certain number, it's going to cost you an action. If you get above a certain number, it's going to cost you a free action to break through the ice.
Okay, it's a 5.
Gotcha. So yeah, let's say it basically takes your action to break the ice here. And it's going to basically put you, you're pretty much out of the water already. Do your gloves take an action to activate?
Yeah, they do.
Gotcha. So I think that's where maybe you're gonna get out. And because you can't like immediately lash onto the walls, you'll have to make a decision. Um Malchin's gonna probably be coming out right after you as well. And you can consider, just asking him right away for a boost, and you guys can save a lot of space. But at present, I'm basically gonna say, like, when you get to the ice and see that it's sealed over on the other side, you basically like break your way out without like waiting to see is somebody else right behind you to do that, and it kind of costs that little bit of time. But what would you guys like to do on this other side?
Yeah, and I think by the time Dalton's just barely able to reach the water's edge, I think, as they already broke through.
Yeah, I feel like you can get kind
Obviously,
of.
dashing again, yes, another 15 feet. Or 15 feet total, I mean.
So Malchin and Jinx, theoretically, the two of you are getting out of the ice. Malchin, it's pretty much your action to get to the edge. If you are going to dash, you could do something else like out of the water. Jinx, you're pretty much out of the water with your first bit of movement. So you've got like 20 feet left.
Oh wait, so did the Hydra actually go?
Oh, my bad. The Hydra is able to move after you guys, but it's not going to cover much ground. It's got to squeeze through a bunch of stuff.
I think I will just dash with Malchin as well. Just get up out of the water. Sure, I can do anything after that, but
Yeah, you all might even feel like the pressure as the Hydra like fills in the other side. It almost like plunges you guys through and kind of like forces you out with some of the water. So you're like dashing to that position, maybe like putting your feet or your hands together like to help boost up Jinx.
yeah, basically I'm trying to help him as best as I can. Make sure he gets up.
So you could pretty much climb on top of Malchin and be ready to try to like climb up at the start of your next turn here. And I think that'll represent about where the Hydra is able to force its way through. You can still feel like the rumbling of the stone and the ice around this thing, as like the cave feels unsteady as this creature is forcing its way through. There's like washes of water like pushing up as this thing forces its way in. So Jinx, we could start off with your gloves. Malchin can help you up, but you've got your hands on the roof, so we'll see if your gloves work. Dalton, you are able to probably get out with your full movement. You might have like an extra 5 foot once you're like up and out. Yeah, I'd say you probably have like 10 feet because you can move 5 to get to the edge, and then 5 feet outside of it for your 15.
Well, if I'm okay, so 5 to get out of the water, just normal movement.
Well, you're still in the water now. That one's going to take you 10, and then you can basically get to where Jinx is with your next like 5.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's like out of the water.
Yeah, I think he is going to dash again because he doesn't know. He hasn't looked back. He's just been swimming for his life, so he doesn't really. I feel like he doesn't really have a good idea of how close the thing is, and he feels like the rumbles. So he's essentially dashing to get as far away from the water as he can, while he's kind of looking on and desperately hoping that Jinx's gloves work.
Is that
So
seven from the?
I roll right now to. I'm gonna go ahead and just like put the rope like over my like neck or shoulder or whatever, and then try the gloves whenever I can.
Oh yeah, go for it. Oh,
Dude,
this one is so prominent.
If you guys could see that roll, it was 99% stopped on the 1 and then rolled to the 13.
Oh, I'm glad maybe that they clarified it because that definitely looked very clearly a 13 to us, but the 1 was definitely like, obviously it's one face, but
Okay, so yeah, so they will work barely, but I'll climb up and spend however much move I need to do. I did already spend my action.
oh, see, this would have been a good reason to actually upload the other. I think though that's the big danger. Like I think at this point, you guys have a sense of the Hydra is crawling out after you. You've outrun it enough that you're getting away, and everything is rough for it to move because it is a monstrous creature here. Then I'm gonna kind of like fast forward through the climbing, because yeah, the next one you can lift up to there's a ladder, and that takes you out of the Pythonese house itself. When you get to the top, you can move the statue of the fat man out of the way, and basically exit the house, or exit into the house. Let me see. When you go to the front door, you guys cannot leave the front entrance of the Pythonese house. What would you like to do when you test the exit and you cannot exit?
Well, we had our other way out, right? From the second story. After we walked through the like towers, Jinx found that he could climb out and he wasn't stopped.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was really a different way out or we just happened to test it while like the powers weren't active. So it's worth a shot.
All right. So what is that? Like going out to, I think it was like the third story and going out through through the gatehouse? Nope, it's the fourth story. Oh, maybe it was the second story. My bad for jumping around. I hope that doesn't give you motion sickness. Oh my god. I can only imagine Dalton dying to falling damage now.
Yes, once you said like fourth story, I was like, uh-oh.
Well, that's the thing though, like the entrance into the gatehouse is on the second story. But you're already like 20 something feet up. And then the actual way out of it was on like the third or fourth story, where you would then get out onto the roof of the gatehouse, just to try to get into the courtyard. But you have to make climbing checks before then because you're going to get to this first ladder. So again, like you guys can't make it out the entryway when you go around on that first floor. You go up the cast iron stairs, and once again, like you feel like the weight of somebody like pushing down on your shoulders. You can feel like the sense of somebody almost trying to like push you down the stairs. And this would be in a very stark contrast to below the house when you were climbing that ladder. Felt perfectly fine. Felt no, I mean, Dalton obviously is still exhausted to 4 levels, but like coming up here, the house is ruled by this other power. So climbing up those cast iron stairs is difficult in its own right. When you guys get to the second story, you will have that climb up the ladder. Let me see. Yeah, a minute is. You guys are gonna constantly feel like the rumble below you. After about a minute or so, after you probably get to that front entrance, you probably have a solid sense that like getting out of the tube was easy enough. That was a pretty massive section, even though it was much smaller than the size of this automaton creature. The actual crawl spaces that you went through are a different story because now you feel almost like a constant rumbling from below the house. And you guys have a solid sense that this is those heads of the Hydra, like pecking one after another at the stone above them as they're just like biting and grinding away at the earth that separates this creature from the rest of the city. But yeah, like a minute's gonna go by before you guys probably get back up to the second level here. And let me have you do the first of the climb checks from this second to the third level.
All right, so before we do this, Jinx is gonna stand next to Dalton for a second, and he's gonna look over at him, and he's gonna say, "You need these more than I do, buddy. I never really liked them anyway." And I'm gonna take off the gloves, and I'm gonna give them to you, and instruct you just basically like how they work.
Do they require attunement?
They don't require attunement, and you just spend your action, but every time you have to roll a 1 to see if they work before they go. But you shouldn't have to take the climbing test though, theoretically.
Okay, the only reason I was asking about attunement was because it takes time to do that, but if you don't require attunement, then
I told you guys a while ago, I am perfectly fine with you guys attuning to stuff immediately. As far as things go, even stuff that takes attunement, if you want to blindly attune, you are welcome to.
Oh, okay. I forgot. Yeah, you did. You have mentioned that in the past. So Dalton, yeah, will look very thankfully towards Jinx, and I appreciate it. Don't know I'd be able to get up there without them in a rough way. But he will try to put on the gloves, let Jinx explain kind of how they work.
So I believe D&D Beyond should have, as long as you've got my homebrew set, you should have access to gloves of climbing. And effectively,
Explorer's gloves is what you told me.
oh, explorer's gloves. My bad. Yeah, so explorer's gloves,
Yep.
and then with explorer's gloves on, when you go to use them, you can roll a d20, and on a 1, they become non-magical. On anything else, the moment you kind of like touch them in, you can kind of see these almost like needle-like fibers. They almost like latch into and like pierce through stuff and kind of like grow into them, almost like a moss of a tree. How trees like slowly destroy stone, but these things just kind of meld into whatever you would like to climb and make climbing effectively a non sequitur, as you just have to kind of like almost suction cup on, and then if you remove them ever so correctly, you like just by removing the gravity effect a little bit, they start to detach, and then you can move your hand and climb with ease.
All right. So D20. All right. So they
I
activate.
kind of
as
figured
you
how you've been rolling today that there was about to become non-magical gloves.
yeah. I was definitely worried. Yeah, first time Dalton goes to use them.
These gloves don't work at all. I think maybe you were just really good at climbing.
And
So,
is that permanently not magical?
like, yeah, once they break, they're gone.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think that's a cool thing that that's Monty Cook's like take from Numenera, which is like a little bit more properly his 5e. And I think it's a cool function. Like instead of making something like expendable, like charges wise, it's just like, hey, you can use it until it breaks. And once you like use up all of the magic, like that was how much magic it had inside of it.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So Dalton can effectively get up to this top level. In the long run, just like before, there's no reason that Malchin or Jinx cannot be ahead of Dalton. But once you guys make it up through those tiny little corridors, the Hydra is much less a problem. It is something you are going to constantly feel those vibrations of, but that initial instinct to stay with Dalton, I'm not trying to fight you on that now. Like I wanted you to like recognize like I think Jinx the adventurer would have known that he had to climb out ahead of everybody. So I felt important to like share that. Um but do you guys think as you're getting Dalton to this first ladder, is Dalton the first to go? Is he the last to go? Or like in the middle, you know? How much are you guys waiting for him once the Hydra's at least somewhat stuck behind you in those little 5-foot corridors?
Well, I have no reason to understand that those gloves aren't going to work for any reason. They've worked every time I tried to use them, so I just assume he's good to go, and I'm ready to move.
One thing to keep in mind is but Dalton is still the slowest of the three of us. So
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. Like you guys could still get here and have the like exit plan prepared for Dalton if you moved ahead of him. That was kind of my question is, are you guys waiting for him still? Are you preparing the way ahead of him because he's moving 15 feet at a time? Like he's moving half your speed.
yeah, and I feel like Dalton would be telling them to essentially, don't wait for me.
So Malchin and Jinx, what are the two of you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to keep moving. Do I need to make a
So
test?
you're moving ahead of him? Excellent.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. That's what I was trying to say.
Malchin moving ahead of him?
Yeah, I'll do the same. Like, make
All
sure
right,
that
so let me get strength checks from each of you at disadvantage, please.
My main goal is to just keep both of them in eyesight right now, but other than that, I'll move as fast as possible.
Gotcha. So that works. You can kind of like move one step ahead, and then you like have a few moments to like breather almost.
Mine is a 4 with disadvantage.
And Mountain just roll a 1,
No, that was a
or was
7.
that a 7? Gotcha.
So that's 12, 13 total.
Jinx, yours was a 4 total.
Yeah, it's a 4 because mine is 2.
Gotcha. So like when you like pass off the gloves, you like move ahead of Dalton, and you start to like climb up. Malchin's already like climbed up to this third level of the keep, and by the time you're like climbing up, you like get partway up the ladder, and you're going to feel that like push from above, and you fall. Jinx, take 4 bludgeoning damage for me. As you are pushed from above and slam into the ground with like kind of the thought of like, oh, I figured I would wait for you, Dalton.
Yeah, and I didn't think of it before, but Dalton at this point now that they're out of the water is, and especially after Jinx gave him lent him the gloves, is going to kind of give some inspiring words to Jinx, give him bardic inspiration.
Gotcha. So you can give him another try on this one. Um, do you guys have an exit on this level 3? Or are we climbing to level 4?
Well, I still have whoever's rope that was, I guess. So, like, I would try to. I think secure it. Isn't this the one where it's just like waist high, or is this one still completely blocked in?
What do you mean waist high? No, this is like blocked in. This is still walled on each side.
Yeah, I think we have to go one level higher, and then it was like the kind of like waist high walls, wasn't it?
Yeah, crenulations are on the next level.
And did you say I could try again this turn to do a test, or wait till next turn to do it? You're saying?
Honestly, I was gonna let you just have this one after you failed once. But I might as well, since you've got the inspiration, have you do another test. Bam, yep. No problem there.
Well, wait,
Oh, because that's an 8.
technically a 10 minus 2, so it is 8. So I think I have to use the bardic inspiration to make it success. Right?
Yeah, you just
And
need to
it's
not
still
roll a
actually
1.
4? Okay.
How are you
Okay,
feeling
cool.
over there, Chris?
Oh,
Has
I'm
Chris already
tired.
passed out?
Yeah, no, not fully past that, but yeah, a bit slow.
Are you still like standing though? Are you still like good to go?
Yeah, I'm still good to go.
All
Kind of
right.
will finished.
Thought you snuck in a long rest there. I'm like, man, he's not even afraid of the Hydra. He's just going to sleep.
So, oh, that's what it is. There's not even a way over on that one. You do cross the tower, moving to the western tower, and that's where there's a ladder up to the next level and to the crenulations that like overlook the outside of the castle. Dalton, can you make a roll for your gloves, please? Solid. So Dalton can make it up and out when he makes it here. Malchin is a little bit ahead of Jinx. Can you make your strength athletics with disadvantage for me, please, sir? Malchin is able to make it up and out on top of the gatehouse without any problem. And Jinx, can you make your strength athletics at disadvantage, please?
Oh, could I get? Sorry, could I have given him another inspiration once we hit this level?
100%, you may indeed. But with a 0, I don't think he is going to expend his inspiration on this one.
Oh, 0 won't even succeed? That's crazy.
But when you fall, you're near the bottom of the ladder still, and you will once again be pushed, and you will take 2 damage for me, please. Let me think. Can somebody roll? There's no good solution for this. Can I have one of you? Can I have each of you roll a d20? This is just a straight d20. This does not affect like inspiration if you roll ones or anything. Just gonna add up these 3 d20. So you guys have a total of what is that? 37? All right. Right as Jinx falls from this ladder, you guys are going to hear. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Right as Jinx falls from the ladder, you guys hear, I must be. And when Jinx goes to climb the ladder, you climb it with ease. It no longer feels like somebody is trying to push down on you from above.
Wait, so
Would you
do
like
I
to
still
make
need to
these?
roll a d20 or not
You
at
still
all?
need a strength check. It's just not a disadvantage.
Okay,
Do
it's
you
a
feel like a 10 is successful?
well, it's an 8, but I'm going to use the bardic inspiration, the second one.
I gotcha. It's definitely hard to constantly remember that you've got a -2 strength. So yeah.
Woo, got it with the 10. Always doing the bare minimum.
So you guys are all out on the granulation here at the top of the tower. And just because you guys had to do it, I'd like a group perception check here, please.
Mine is a 17 total with disadvantage.
16 for Jinx.
And 24 for Martian.
So, as you guys get to the top of this tower, I did not prepare for this exact situation, but because you had to go up to the top, I want to reward you. As this was the map that I kind of prepared for today. Oh, I never actually put the tokens on it. Whoops. You guys can see. Let's go back then. From where you have climbed up on top of the tower, you can see that outside of the yard, outside of the courtyard, outside of the actual gate, there are apparently people out there. You can see out in this like immediate courtyard that there's like a group of 3 people sitting almost immediately below you. Um, and then you can see that there are another 3 people kind of almost near the like southeastern corner. And with like a little bit of effort, you feel like you can spot that there are more people around like the western corner. Can't quite make out like how many, but you have a solid idea to recognize there's probably 3 more people there, as they seem to all be sitting in these little 3-person groups, kind of like maintaining some sort of a watch on this house. But you can basically see that there is one like really tall figure who seems like who's like right below you guys, who has large wings, and they are black, horrific, like burnt red almost wings. Um, Solid sense immediately upon seeing this person from above that this is some sort of chaos infestation of a human body, and you can see like the rot and the death on the actual like human flesh of this person. Their hair is almost entirely fallen out from just like being sparse and thinned. um Very gangly, kind of unhealthy look about this person. And then there's just these portions like the wings that just seem absolutely different flesh that are kind of coming out from his body. But you can see like that figure right below you. There is a lizard folk who is right below you, like in that group. And then there is a Litorian, a lion person, a lion humanoid who is sitting right there as well. And then along like the 3 portions, you can see other figures like humans and whatnot, like that are watching each of the corners. But effectively from here, you guys can kind of spot that there appears to be about 9 people who are in wait outside of the castle right now.